The time now is 6 p.m. I call this board training session of the Uvalde Consolidated Independent School District Board of Trustees to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, with trustee Jacqueline Gonzalez absent, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. If you'll please stand. Please bow your head for a moment of silence for 21 seconds to honor 21 beautiful souls. Thank you. At this time, our invocation will be led by trustee JJ Swatis.
Please pray with me. Proverbs 16:3, commit to the Lord whatever you do, and he will establish your plans. Heavenly Father, we come before you with grateful hearts as we begin this time of learning and preparation. Thank you for the opportunity to serve the students, families, and staff of our district. We ask for your wisdom and your guidance as we make decisions that shape the future of our schools. Lord, grant each board member understanding, patience, and unity of purpose. Help us to listen with compassion, lead with integrity, and act with courage. May every discussion and decision be rooted in what is best for the children entrusted to our care. As we train and grow in our roles, remind us that true leadership begins with humility and a heart of service. Let your light guide our steps and may our work bring honor to your name and blessings to our community. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Now for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible. You may be seated. Item number 2, open forum. We do not have anyone signed up to speak tonight. Item 3, governance team, board and superintendent, training and development. If during the course of the meeting, discussion of any item on the agenda should be held in a closed meeting, the board will conduct a closed meeting in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Government Code, Chapter 551. Subchapters D and E, or Texas Government Code Section 418.183F. Before any closed meeting is convened, the presiding officer will publicly identify the section or sections of the act authorizing the closed meeting. All final votes, actions, or decisions will be taken in open meeting. CBE Legal. Superintendent Colas.
Thank you. This evening, we are honored to have the presence of a TASB representative, Ms. Esperanza Orozco. She is a sitting board member, and she does all of the board trainings around the state of Texas. And she's been highly recommended by some of our board members who've been in her trainings. And so she's with us tonight to do our Team of 8 training. So I'm passing the mic to her.
Wonderful. Good evening. I'm so glad to be here with you today. I have seen many of your faces in my session, so I love it. And I cannot wait to get started. Are we ready for a fun night?
Yeah.
Okay. It's going to be 3 hours of all kinds of fun. And you've been in my session, so you know I'm going to walk around everywhere, right? I cannot stay in the podium. So let's go. I just want to give you an overview of what the agenda looks like for tonight. We're going to start off with the artifact activity. I know everybody had the opportunity to bring an artifact to share out. We are then going to discuss the board self-evaluation. Thank you for the folks that did do it. We're really excited that we got those in. We did get 6 responses, so we're very happy with that. We're going to take a quick break, but feel free to break at any time that you need to. And then we are going to get into our social contract. And some of you have heard about it, and we're going to dive a little deeper into that and then go over board roles and responsibilities. It's always important to review that, even if you have been on the board for 15 years, 20 years. Sometimes we need a refresher, even us board members that have been on there for a little while. And then we're going to end the night with a quick reflection, and we'll get started. Are you ready? Okay. So we're going to start with the artifact. How does the item reflect something important about you as a person? So I want you to think about that for a moment, and we're going to share out. But let me just start by saying we never really have an opportunity. As board members, we don't have an opportunity to really get to talk about these kind of things. We are all business. We're here until hopefully just 9 o'clock at night. And then, it's a long meeting, and we don't get a chance to really talk as human to human, right? I mean, outside we might have the opportunity, but here as a team of 8, it's really important to get to know your why behind it. And it does not have to do with education, but just something that is important to you as a person. So we'll start off with our board president.
You want me to share my artifact?
Yes, share your artifact and tell us how that item reflects something important about you as a person.
Okay, so I received this every year in January. It's Board Recognition Month, and we get these amazing gifts from students and teachers and staff members. And my first year on the board, I received this. And it had a little saying on it, and it eventually wore off. But for some reason, I've kept it. And you can ask my children, my husband, it sits at our dinner table. And everyone will mess with it, everyone will touch it, but it never goes away. And I recently found out that this was given to me from the Robb campus. So even more meaningful, I guess this is why I've always held on to it. I mean, I'd be sitting at dinner talking and I just will turn it, and anybody else, I guess it's kind of just, I don't know, it's calming. It's, and everybody touches it and everybody flips it upside down, and then it goes right back on the dinner table until we sit down again or somebody walks by and, what is this? But it's the one gift that I have left out in my home. And then, of course, now it has even more meaning because I have something that came from that campus that I get to hold on to.
Thank you. Who's next? Who would like to share next?
I'll go. So I could not decide on one, so I brought 2. These are rings that I am very proud of. This very first one right here is my high school ring in 1990. Yes, they made rings back in our day. I've kept it for 35 years. It still fits. So I was either chunky back then or I'm losing some weight. But it really helps me when it comes, it's about education, the meaning of education and hard work, because I was a cross country runner many pounds ago, and I was a baseball player. And but I also got it because I graduated, so education. And then this other ring is my state championship basketball ring that I refereed in 2019. And so I wear this with pride because it just shows a lot of, like, your dedication, your hard work. If you want to do something and you put your mind to it, it will happen. And so there's a lot of curse words in this ring, a lot of bad calls, some people would say, but a lot of great calls too. Yeah, so those are my two rings that I wear very proudly.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Who's next?
I'll go. This thing right here got me escorted out of Six Flags one time because supposedly it was a weapon. It's a can opener. This is the one that I used when I first joined the Marine Corps. At that time, they were serving. I mean, we would eat sea rations. You know, and then this is a tool that we have to use to open the main meal, the bread, the peanut butter and jelly, and the fruit. And it's been with me since 1980, June of 1980. So it's been, I guess it's kind of like my good luck charm, been with me to Kuwait, to Bangladesh, to other places of the world. And it's been here with me longer than my wife. So, so I mean, it's something that's I mean, came in handy for, you know, to open up it'll open up a small can or a big can. And then, and sometimes my wife gets mad at me because whenever she buys those fancy can openers and they break down, I said, I'll take care of it. And then they said, it didn't cost me a dime, but this is the one that's, like I said, it's been with me since 1980 and good luck charm. And but
That's pretty awesome. 45 years, huh? Wow. Who's next?
I can go.
Okay.
So mine's kind of a little story, but it actually came from the cathedral at Notre Dame in Paris. So my husband and I, before we got married, he ended up taking a trip with my family. And so we bought this together. We prayed at the church together that we'd stay together. And then we eventually got married. And so we have this in our home. And my kids are always like, Mom, this looks so like, ancient. Like where'd y'all get this? It's not. But I always remind them that it's, the Virgin Mary, and it's religious, but it also can be like a basic meaning. And I tell them like, she cared for her son, and that's a mother's love, and a father's love. And, I remind them that like, everybody has a mom, and everybody, and they're out there. And it's like, we have to remind each other that that little, person you're playing with, like, think about how their parents feel and they want their child to be loved and cared for. And so I always remind them, like, please be extra special to people that, they may not have, a friend out there. Go and approach them and make them feel welcome. And so this always somehow comes up, but they always are like, oh, it's, they're enamored by it. But it's something that that we've had for a long time. So I think that was back in 2009. So it's been together a long time. But yeah, that's my little relic.
Thank you. That's so pretty. Who's next?
This is my hat. I got it in the early 90s from my dad. And I've always had it. I took on my first deployment, which was a mistake because you can't really wear it there. And taking it everywhere. It's been all around the world. It's been in the China Sea. Don't put your hat in the sea because it kind of just folds over. But it's always been with me. It's something I've always had. It still works. It doesn't look much, but it keeps the sun off my head. And it's just kind of become, I guess, my comfort item. So.
Very nice. Something you said you received from your dad?
Mm-hmm.
Very nice. Yes.
This ask was emotional, for a lot of reasons. Life just kind of ties things together, all the different things we've been through. But the first thing that crossed my mind is these gloves right here, kind of like Robert and his dad. These were my dad's gloves, third grade education. Grew up in Lytle, Natalia. He walked to school a long way and only got to third grade. They had to help out with the farm. Thank you. And but he knew, and my mom knew the sacrifice that they had to make, for us and to send us to school. We weren't the best kids, like just, kids. My brother would throw rocks at planes, at crop dusters, and he ended up becoming a pilot. He owns his own company now. And so they could see something that we couldn't see, right? And it's just like what the reason that we're up here. And so to me, that hard work, that dedication, he could see what was ahead. And so many times that he would come and my mom would come, or I misbehaved in school, and they would sit down with the principal, but they never gave up. They never gave up. And until the end, um, made a commitment to go to college, graduated with honors, and I asked God, I said, hey, can you help me? He's dying, he's got cancer. I don't know if he can make it to my graduation. And he was there in a wheelchair. And I never forget the moment when I walked the stage and he was so proud, but he knew that the sacrifice that him and my mom had given had eventually paid off, and he knew that things were turning. I'm like, Mr. Suarez, it was so hard for me to take some of these things. It's kind of far for you guys to see this, but this right here is the Bad News Bears, teachers, coaches, bus drivers, huge impact in our lives. We were a team that was composed of kids that nobody wanted. All the kids, the good kids, I mean, the good ball players, baseball, they were all taken. And Mike Villarreal, which is a bus driver, she was with us for a while. She picked us up, but she saw something in us. We could throw rocks all day long, so we could throw a baseball. And I'll never, Bobby at first base, Leon at second base, my brother at third base. I remember the whole thing, but we all believed in each other, and we took it. We beat that other team that didn't pick us. We beat them several times. We played La Prior. We won the championship. It's amazing, but it took believing in each other, trusting. I knew I was a pitcher. I knew that if they hit, I wouldn't even have to look back. I knew that the guys had it, like it was gonna get delivered, but I trusted them with that. We all trusted each other. So the other thing, that one of the reasons, it's a lot, but it's like storytelling time. This right here is me, of course, and my grandbaby. I've got several grandbabies, my mom, my brother. We ask ourselves while we sit here, right, and we share these things. And even though I don't have any kids that go to this school, they all mean something to me, And so they live out in Houston, and some live out in Missouri. And of course, got it. But anyhow, it all ties in together. It's believing in each other and what you leave behind for the kids, So thank you.
You. I love that. Superintendent?
Okay, so I did not bring my whole box of essential oils. I just brought one. And the reason I brought this is because my essential oils make me really happy. Because I feel a connectedness. I don't know if you know anything about essential oils, but it's a holistic, medicinal, spiritual practice that it just makes me feel really connected to the earth. It makes me feel connected to civilization. It's an ancient practice. It's biblical. And when I'm not studied, I know that I can go and find the right oil and soothe my soul. I can help my family. If my son has a tummy ache, this happens to be the one, right? A couple drops under the tongue, hold it there, and your stomach woes will be gone. And my whole family buys in, but this is a major way that I take care of my family. And so the girls are at college and they will call me and say, Mom, we ran out of XYZ. I need you to send it. And they know how to mix the things that they need. If they have a stomach ache or if they have a headache or whatever they need, they know how to. If they're fighting a cold, they know exactly what to do. And it's a way that we're all connected, even though we're in different spots right now. And I also think that you have to really think they absolutely work. Okay, I'm going to say, but it also helps to believe. And so believing in what you do and believing that there is healing and believing that there is hope and believing that, if we mix the right things together, we're connected to each other, we're connected to civilization, we're connected to humanity, we're connected to the earth, we're just, as people, we're all connected. And so that's what I brought. That's what's super, I mean, those beliefs are important to me as a person.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone who had the opportunity to share about it. And we heard that common theme, right? Of believing in somebody believed in you, you believe in others. And together, when you all believe, you do have that connection and you have the ability to make such a difference. As board members, as superintendent, we have the opportunity to make things happen for our students. And it's amazing that you all have that opportunity, right? And knowing that you're in it together is huge and very powerful. Thank you for bringing that. Now we're going to talk about your board self-evaluation. I'm going to pass it out. I'm going to pass. Thank you for passing those out. It's a board self-evaluation. Like I said, we did have 6 responses out of 7. So I was able to get some good data from that. It is anonymous. So we don't know who says what. We don't know who didn't take it. But what's important is that you do get the opportunity to review this once a year. Now, it might not make sense right now in front of you. So I'm going to go through it and highlight some things that we can look at, some things that you can work on, some things to make you better and stronger. There are some strengths that you already have that you can definitely add to. So let's go ahead and take a look. Okay, so the first one, I want to highlight some things that you can work on, right? And then I'm also going to point out some things that you scored very well on that you need to really leverage in order to get better as a board and district. So the first one is for team development phase 1. It says there is a lack of group structure and organization in this team. And so as you can see, this is one that 100% of you all agreed with that there is a lack of group structure. So that's very telling, right? Very telling that you need to put some structure in place, organize some things in order to move forward together. And it's okay to have that score because next year, when you do it again, you are going to see where you have grown. So I want you to take it with a grain of salt, understanding that we have a growth mindset and we want to grow from this, right? So there's a lack of group structure and organization in this team. We're going to go to the next one that I want to highlight. We haven't discussed our goals very much in this team. So 67% agreed with that. And often I will tell folks, and we're gonna brainstorm some ideas at the end of this one, but I always tell folks, sometimes we get so busy in what we're doing that maybe there's an easier way to highlight what our goals are. Having those, and you might have them already, but just keeping them on the forefront. What are our goals? And what are some easy ways to do that to make sure that when you're going through the agenda, when you are looking at agenda items, that you are tying it back to a goal and it's right there in front of you. And yes, you might know your goals, but having it right in front of you when you're taking care of business, it's a great opportunity to keep that focus on that goal, right? So those are some easy things that can be done to help you make sure that goals are at the forefront. Okay, there is very little conflict expressed in this team. So, as you can see, that the numbers are hard for me to see because I'm blind here. It's 83% that said they disagreed with that. So there is conflict. And I want you to understand that this is a phase. When you are developing a team, there's 4 phases that we're going to look at. And it is perfectly normal as a new team comes together and starts working towards, norming. This is very normal to see this kind of responses. Okay, so on this one, when we talk about, okay, what can we do? So I want you to think a little bit about and share out what are some things that you think you can put in place to have more structure and organization? What are some things that you can do? And feel free just to jump in because we're going to write this down. So this is for phase 1. What are some things that you can do?
I think that there's certain things that can be asked before our meetings and answers would be given before any clarifications or any misunderstandings would help.
Okay, asking questions, right? Beforehand. And that's really an important piece of preparation, right? Being prepared. As board members, we get a lot of information, but it's really difficult when you do see somebody come to the board meeting and they're just opening up their agenda packet and they start asking a million questions. And it's like, wait a minute, we already asked those questions. We submitted those questions. So having a system in place to ask those questions also will be very helpful, but asking questions in advance. Now, that doesn't mean, and I always tell board members this, it doesn't mean that you cannot ask a question the night of the meeting.
Correct.
But if you submit those questions in advance, first of all, nobody gets blindsided, right, with those questions. Because what happens, you, even in your own work, you want to be able to answer questions, right? So when you ask these questions, all of a sudden, 15 questions, and it's like, oh, I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer. It makes people feel blindsided. You're like a deer in headlights. And you don't want to put anybody in that spot, right? So it's important to prepare, like you said, prepare, ask those questions. And then when you're at a board meeting, you can say, Robert can say, Superintendent, I know I already submitted 5 questions on this, but, I just want to highlight one of these questions because I know the community probably wants to hear the answer to this one, right? And saying that so people can understand because people don't always know our role and responsibility as a board member. So when you don't ask questions, you might be criticized for not asking questions. However, you've submitted questions on the back end. So saying something like that makes sure that the community is aware you have asked all your questions. You've done your due diligence because we do a lot of work in the back end that nobody sees. We read up, we ask questions, we go find out, we go research some things. But highlighting 1 or 2 questions that you might have submitted is also really important. So the community knows that you are engaged, you're aware, and that you are submitting, and your superintendent already answered the million questions that Esperanza asked, right? So that's a really important piece. Okay, so thank you for sharing that. What else?
I think it's important to acknowledge and recognize that it's okay to have that dialogue throughout before the meeting, once we get the agenda and have the dialogue and working through the issues that we all understand that it's not a walking quorum or inappropriate or, you try to come up with some kind of scheme or whatever it is, that's assumed. Work through like you said, work through the issues before we get to that point. The one that I feel a little uncomfortable with is like, I don't want to sound like it's rehearsed,
Mhm.
And so like you said, preface the question that's coming. We talked about it in the past. In the last couple of weeks, we worked through the issue, but just for transparency purposes, then I'm going to go ahead and ask this out here. But it just seems a little awkward at times, beginning for me. It's like, how can I be asking that question and then come out of here and just, ask it again?
And it takes time.
Comfortable.
Yes, it takes time to get used to it, right? But your community starts getting used to it too as you use it more and more. Superintendent, I submitted this question because it's going to take them time to get the answer. And the end of the day, you want the answer for the public, right? So it's important to give them enough time to get that answer and be ready. So they give you the answer when you ask the question beforehand. But then when you highlight it out here, just say, I know I already asked and, you gave me an answer, but I know the community wants to hear that. So I'm going to ask it again. And then as you start saying it more and more, I've been saying it for the 9 years I've been on the board. So now the community is very aware and they'll say, yeah, we know Esperanza asked a million questions, but she's not going to ask them all here because we'll be here all night. Who wants to be here to midnight? Nobody does, right?
And
You
we're
need-
here till 1.
Oh, no, ma'am. No, ma'am. We're going to fix that. We are going to fix that because I had board meetings until there's some cute little ones out there. Adorable. I had board meetings until midnight, 2 a.m. And that's when you're not functioning well as a team, right? So we're going to work on that because you should not be here until midnight, 2 o'clock, because are you making the best decisions at that time?
No, and we tend to have to come back and ask Ms. Colas for special meetings because we want to clarify or, we retired and we came out. And so I don't like that. But I'm guilty of being so tired that sometimes I'm like, why are we still here? It's the next day,
Yes. And it's hard to make good decisions and make sense sometimes. And even for your superintendent, your administrators that are answering these questions, like, wait, what? Oh, I'm hungry. It's 1 a.m. I'm sleepy. I have a 7 o'clock. I have to be there for the kids. So making sure that we're using our time wisely is going to be really important. And one of the things that I will say, who are my board officers here? I have my president, vice president,
Secretary.
okay, so y'all need to kind of board officer institute with me and I will do that for free and take you through that course because I do the board officer for the state, right? So I want y'all to join me and I'm gonna really get into running effective and efficient meetings. And you've taken sessions with me before on it, but this is, we'll do it via Zoom when you all have time after hours. We'll talk later, but we're going to get this situated. You are going to be the best president at running these meetings than anything. It's going to be great. I love it. Okay. What other suggestions do you have?
I think for structure purposes,
Mhm.
looking, like you said, looking over your agenda and staying to that agenda, not asking questions that are going to come at a later topic. Stay within that agenda and just allowing for the questions to be asked, and they're great questions, but allowing the answers to be answered.
Yes, that's a really good point because it's easy to do. Okay. As board members, and I'm guilty of it too, right? I'm getting ahead of myself and it's like, okay, that's going to be covered in another agenda topic, but I'm like ready to discuss it because I find a little loophole where I can just insert it. And so it's going to be important to stay focused on your agenda items. And this is what you're going to learn in Board Officer Institute is how do you navigate that? How do you do that when Robert over here is taking you off another agenda item, but I really don't want to say anything to Robert because I really like him and I don't want him to feel bad. Right? Don't be like Robert. But that's something that you're going to have to learn because you owe it to your community as well to have efficient meetings. Do you think they're going to want to stay up till 1 a.m. looking at your meetings? Probably not. And they're going to miss some really good, important information. And so is your staff. So we're going to learn on how to navigate those situations, make it more effective by staying focused on your agenda item, right? And it's okay. Y'all have to remember, you can't take it personal. When I say, as president, I say, oh, I'm sorry, Jesse. That's a really good point, but that's not the topic we're discussing right now. Wait until agenda item 7B. It's okay to say that, right? And so that's why we're going to work on our social contract in a little bit to talk about how we cannot take those things personal. How can we be more effective as a team? Okay, anything else you would like to add before we go? Yes.
Question. So like whenever the agenda is put together, is there a certain like format that should be followed? And I'm thinking just because is there too many items that we're tackling in one meeting and maybe we should break it up into, is that why we're maybe going over? Like, I just don't, I don't have
Yes,
that
that's a
background.
really good question. And that's one of the things that I discuss in my Board Officer Institute is we talk about agenda setting, how to set that agenda. And one of the things that's going to help you, do you have an annual board agenda calendar? Okay, so that is going to help you because as president, you come to agenda setting with that board annual calendar and you're like, hey, wait a minute. There's all these other things that you're adding that are aside from our calendar. That's going to be too heavy. So I'm going to break them up. So that's where you make that decision. And as board president, you can do that recommendation as well to your superintendent, or your superintendent will say, I'm sorry, I had to add these 5 items because there's a deadline. Okay, sometimes it is. Well, if that's the case, what can we take off here? Because I already know that we're going to discuss, for example, we're going to discuss playground equipment for 3 hours because, that board member Esperanza wants them pink and she is going to talk about it for 3 hours. Right. So when you have to know your team, it's really important. I always tell when I train my presidents, I always tell them, you can be an okay president or you can be a baddie, right? And you can be awesome president. And that means that you know every single board member and you already think when you go into agenda setting, you're already strategizing and thinking, well, I know JJ is going to ask about the environmental impact. So superintendent, for this agenda item, I don't see anything on environmental impact. We need to have that there because if not, JJ is going to take an hour talking about that at the board meeting, right? You have to know your people and anticipate what they're going to be asking. Those questions are going to be asking. Are you going to get it right all the time? No, but you know the trend. You know Esperanza is always going to ask about this most of the time. You know that Mr. Javier over here is going to ask about this, about transportation. You know that Jesse's going to ask this. So knowing that going into agenda setting will help you stay focused on that agenda, make it more efficient, move things around as you need to, because it's like, no, this is going to be until 2 a.m. with these topics. So while these are pressing because we have a deadline, let's move that report, to another time. Or are there things that don't have to be at our board meeting that are just informational that we can receive on the back end, right? Whatever platform you use for that. But there might be just, oh, here's a report on how much money the Education Foundation gave us, for example. Maybe that doesn't need to be a 30-minute presentation. And also knowing as president, you can tailor these presentations and say, I know when I was board president, I was like 10 minutes. Presentation is 10 minutes. That is it. So get your people to understand presentations are 10 minutes. This is what I want. I want to know what are the positives, high overview. What are the positives? What are some struggles we're having? How can we support you? The good, the bad, the ugly. Community needs to know. We need to talk about it. 10 minutes. And then I open it up for questions from the board, not limiting that, but understanding that the board also should be very, submitting questions in advance, getting all that information in. But, oh, yes, I can talk about that forever. Yes.
Can I ask that item of information that maybe we don't have to put on the agenda?
Mhm.
I know that prior superintendents, like on a Friday or Thursday, they do a little presentation, a little update. Would that be okay?
Like a weekly bulletin
Yes.
kind of thing? Yes, I see that a lot.
Yeah. Okay,
I've
but you-
been
But I'm asking, would that be okay?
So some items can go through there. Some items, TASB has this thing called board blog, right?
Mhm.
I don't know if y'all have it here. But where you just put it on for your board members. You give them the information. Here is the information on how many, for example, how many pink carpets we have because a board member asked that. What, we don't need to talk about it at a board meeting.
Well, we get a
You know?
link, like, I know we get the link, and I believe the like the children, the students, family get the link, right? The text we get, that leads us to your announcement,
video?
yeah, the video. Who
Yeah,
all get the, just,
everybody gets it.
district.
And it
Everybody
goes
in
on
district.
Facebook, so
Okay.
it's widely spread.
Yes, and then there's informational items that are like for board members. That they'll
but
get.
that would be sufficient for
Yeah.
her to include it in that because it's her weekly.
Yes, her weekly here, this is what's going on. You asked about pink carpets and here's the information we got, because we don't need to spend time at a board meeting talking about that. Your main focus should be student achievement. That is, your number one thing. And of course, your goals, whatever's related to your goals. Those are the things that you need to keep on the forefront and not get into all those weeds during a board meeting, right? Great questions and good input.
A lot of times for me, I ask a lot of questions
Mhm.
for the sake of transparency.
Sure.
I may have already had the conversation, but I asked that so that the people kind of know, but I have noticed though that a lot of the staff, they haven't been coming to the meetings, I'm sure everybody knows that. It's just,
They're long.
a lot, they used to.
Yeah.
show up all the time and then they just dwindle down because we stay too long.
Yes.
And so and I get that feedback a lot, like if your meetings would be till midnight.
Yeah.
But we're missing a lot of important information out,
Exactly.
happy about the questions or whatever, but it's just way too long.
And
That's
it's,
the biggest thing I get to.
yes,
Say your board meetings are
they shouldn't
too
be.
long, and I will never go to one because
Yes.
I can go 5 hours. I'm like, me too.
They should not be. I hear a lot of feedback, David. I don't know if it's coming from my mic, but I hear a lot of feedback. Yes, they should not be going that long, right? Should not. Yes, it is important to ask questions. And again, just try it. Try using the method that I'm telling you about submitting all those questions because for transparency and then highlighting the most important questions for the community. Because I bet I asked probably 30 questions. The community probably really cares about maybe like 2 or 3 of those questions, right? The other ones are like, what are you talking about? But that's just my thinking because I have a lot of questions when it comes to curriculum and what have you. So try it. Try and see how that works. That's going to make your meetings more efficient and you're going to be more effective because then also take it with a grain of salt, Jesse, but also as an audience member or staff person, oh, I know Jesse's going to ask 50 questions. So I'm tuned out. So I'm not even listening anymore, right? So in order to be more effective as a board member and have efficient board meetings, you want to make sure you leverage that. You got to leverage that. Because if I just ask everything, it's like, oh, I'm out. Like you said, nobody wants to come to the board meetings, right? And it's true. And I had to evolve and do that myself because I was like, and this and that, because I knew so much about it. So I asked a million questions. It's like, oh, okay, I'm not being effective. I'm not helping anything, and it's not helping anybody with the decision. So backload that, right? Ask those questions and then highlight those really critical ones that the community really wants to know about.
Once we start doing that, I feel like I'm getting into management.
Yes,
I start getting into managerial things that are not even,
that's right.
I don't work here,
Out of our role, right? We're not the how.
It's like, I get myself out of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to try this and we're going to see you're going to get out of it. I bet you. Okay, great. So we're going to the next one. Okay, so phase 2. Let's look at some things there. So phase 2, it starts with the number 12, right? Okay. So some things I want to highlight. Team members seem to have very different views about how things should be done in this group. So 67% agreed with that statement. What is that key word there? What is the key word that we need to look at for number 12?
Different views. But
Okay.
maybe not the same goal.
Different views. Okay.
The group.
The group?
Should be done.
How is the key word? Because we as board members should not live in the how. We should not be living in that how. We are the what. So we have the overarching what we want to happen. And we do that through policy, through our decisions. But how it is done, that's not our job. That is the superintendent who's the educational leader an expert. Has anybody been a superintendent before here? No, just one? Oh, man. Okay. So we are not the educational experts. I mean, I was a teacher for 11 years. I was president of the union there. I'm not an expert when it comes to education. I know a lot, but I don't know what a superintendent, and I don't know what a superintendent goes through in this day and age. Right? So we're not the how. So it's okay that we don't agree with the how. What do we care about? That end goal. That's what we care about. The end goal. I don't care if you have to go curvy and diagonal to get there. I just want you to get there. That's all I want. As a board member, that's what I'm focused on, the end goal, right? So it's okay to disagree with everybody's idea on how to get there, but we cannot live there. You can give input, you can give feedback and say, superintendent, so how are you planning to implement XYZ? This is how we're going to do it. High level, not all the details, right? Because then that turns into administrative regulations, and we're not about that life. You should not be about that life. So, okay, they gave us an over. Well, why do you think you're gonna do XYZ? Because I'm just thinking about this. Superintendent explains, okay. This is the plan they came up with. If this is the plan that they come up with and recommend, try it. Because also your superintendent's responsibility is to adjust if it's not working. So you hired your superintendent for a reason. We have those educational experts for a reason. So let them do their job. And if it doesn't work, it's their job to go fix it. Not our job to tell them how to do it, right? Because we all saw, none of us have been superintendents. So are we good with that? The how is not for us. Okay. What questions do you have about that? Or does that make sense to you all?
Like in this district, yes, with the superintendent is, she's gonna take care of it, but I'm thinking that we have a problem because we had so many superintendents that the staff has to adjust to every superintendent we get. So it's I don't know how we can solve that problem, because I think that I've worked with, I don't know, 6 or 7 superintendents,
Sure.
and it's different styles of,
And it comes from, you know what? Trust. Trust. You have to set a foundation of trust. And I had 6 superintendents that I worked with as well before we have our amazing superintendent that I love so much. And he can't leave until 2031 when my daughter graduates. But yes, we had that because it's like, wait, we're having so much turnover just when we're getting our footing. Oh, the carpet gets pulled out, right? So it's rebuilding that foundation of trust. And when you start and sometimes, I mean, the truth is you got to dive head first because you hired this new superintendent. Well, she's been here for 2 years. You've hired this superintendent and you got to let go and you got to trust that it's going to work out. And so I know it's difficult, but I've done it. I had to do it with our superintendent when we first hired, and we're like, all these ideas, they're so different than what we've done. Oh my goodness, what am I going to do? I can't breathe. And then it's like, we had a motto for the year, his second year. The first year, he was observing everything. We had a motto of, let's just try it. Let's get fresh is what we would say. Let's get fresh, fresh ideas, fresh thinking. And you know what? If it doesn't work, we're going to adjust and it's going to be okay. But you got to let it. You have to dive in head first. Because if not, if you keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, is it going to change? No, it's not going to change. So it's hard to trust, but you'll get there. If you're 100% committed into building that foundation because you want better, you don't want the same, right? You want better. And that's what I'm hearing. You got to believe. Yes.
I think, and I appreciate you coming down and doing this. And I think we need to really be honest with each other and with you,
Mhm.
because it's feedback and it's hard to take it all in and how we change our ways. But some of the things that hurt us a lot, it's, we come here and we listen to a presentation or the direction we're gonna move into, we vote on it, and then we get the feedback straight from the employees of the community. And they challenge us and they tell us, they call us out on it, right? You voted on it, you weren't familiar with that, and then we go back and then we ask Ms. Colas, we talk about it, and then they know that there's a good chance that things are gonna sway. And then there's a change in there, you know, so they know, they like the little kid was out there, where's that, right? They know that they can come to you and they're gonna do that, and it's so hard to turn them away because, you know, there's just too many, there's a lot of things that are going on. And I have, it's my weakness, to be honest with you, and it's tough, right? Because we're held accountable to every single thing that obviously that we're voting on, and it directly impacts that employee or the community. And that's a hard part. Like you said, it's the trust aspect of it, right? And no one's being deceptive or anything like that. It's just, it's so much info that's coming through here that things just, you know, it's almost impossible to keep up with the whole thing. And so we're held accountable. And that's, you know,
Well, I think they get angry, right? Because we don't know the detail. Like we don't have, like you say, we see everything from like an eagle's eye view. And then like they come back and like, well, how could you vote on that? How could you go for that? If like now it's affecting you this way. Well, we aren't privy to like the really detailed information. So, you know, I don't know where that balance is, or how do you know what I mean? Like, how do you get there and explain that? And I think again, the public, they don't understand like our role and our like, they think that we can make miracles and that we're going to go in there and we're going to bring this person back and we're going to like, and it's just, you know, we can't do that.
Those are some really good discussion points. And I will tell you, you got to remember, you are not a representative. You are a trustee. That is the huge difference, because sometimes our community will says, you represent me. No, I'm a trustee. I've been entrusted to make the best decisions for the district. Even if you have single member districts, you're at large, whatever the case may be, you're not a representative. And so that thinking is a representative thinking. So you've got to change that, right? And you are a trustee making the best decisions for the districts. You have to understand, I've been there, right? Union president. So of course, everybody came to me. Well, you're on the board now. Now you're going to do, you know, because you know. And there's so much things that people don't know. They don't know how the sausage is made. We do, because we get some confidential information that we cannot share. When people are blasting us on social media, we can't share. It's confidential, right? However, you've been entrusted to make the best decisions for the district, and you cannot allow yourself to start thinking in that mindset of being a representative. And yes, maybe we don't know all the details, but you know what? You know who does? The people that looked at the plan and developed the plan. Most 9 out of 10 times, they have thought of everything, right? Every once in a while, there's like, oh, there's an unintended consequence we didn't think about. But there's ways to alleviate some of these things without doing what you're saying, because if you adopt and take action on something and then people put pressure on you and you're like, oh, well, we want it on the agenda item again and we're going to vote it all over again. What do you think it does?
Just leave it to a vote for the people.
Yeah. You've been entrusted to make that decision. So if you're entrusting me, I have more information that maybe you're not privy to, and that's why I'm making this decision, right? And I can vote no on it if I disagree and say, I am voting no because XYZ. But then you respect the body corporate and you move on. Because if you second guess yourself and keep going back, putting it on the agenda, and then, well, Javier out there saying I should have voted this way, but she's saying this. And then what happens? We have board members that abstain. We have board members that are like, oh no, I got to pander to Javier because, you know, he has 3 friends and they're not going to like me anymore. That's not your job. Your job is to focus on the end game. The end goal is our students, right? And so, yeah, it might not be a popular decision. And right now we're making a lot of decisions that might be unpopular and some that we have no control over because they are mandates that we have to implement, and people are upset with us, right? But that's, you got to take a step back and say, you know, Esperanza, you entrusted me. I earned your vote. You entrusted me. Understand that I'm making the best decision based on the information that I have. And yes, not everybody's going to like it. You're never going to please everybody. And if you're in this job or any elected official, you know you're not going to please everybody. And it's okay. It's okay. And it's going to take a minute to be able to build that skin. But at the end of the day, you got to respect the body corporate. You made a decision, you took action, respect that. If you keep doing that and putting items back on the agenda, second guessing, you know whose trust you're going to lose? All your staff and the community. Oh, well, I can just go make a stink at public forum and they'll change their mind. So then what are you? What do you become? Yes, exactly. And so we have to stick by our decisions and respect the body corporate. There's been plenty of times that I've gotten that. And I will say, you know, this is why I voted. And then that's it, right? I don't need to, oh, I didn't think, oh, they didn't tell me it was going to affect Javier or it was going to affect Laura. You know, it's the overall picture of your district and the well-being of your district, especially with a lot of districts being in financial crisis right now. We have to make a lot of hard decisions, right? As a district, there are districts that are consolidating schools. Those are hard decisions to make. We had a $13 million deficit, so we had to make hard decisions. And it would have been easy for me or any of our board members. Well, that's the superintendent. The superintendent recommended that we cut the music program or what have you, right? It's like, okay, we received a recommendation. We are voting it because we need to keep the end goal in mind. And sometimes even experienced board members have a hard time doing it. But at the end of the day, that's what you're entrusted to do as a trustee. And that's the difference. People don't understand that difference. So it's up to us to educate them about that role, right? What the difference is. But that's a really good point, Jesse, because I see that a lot. And I see it in my district too. And yes, we have people there screaming at us and saying, why did you do? And it's like, yeah, we hate to do it, but this is where we're at, right? We have a $13 million deficit. We got to do something. So things to ponder, but I would really, really encourage you to accept the vote of the body corporate and move on, right? Once that vote is taken, don't keep second guessing yourself because then it's never going to end. It's never going to end for any decision you make. Okay, so phase 2, what were some suggestions that we had? Because we had to get to the social contract. Okay, so we had the how. The next one is disagreement about goals and task emerges in this team. That was another thing that you all agreed on, that there is disagreement about goals and task. There is quite a bit of tension in the team at this time. You all agreed on that. Team members challenge the leader's ideas. You all agreed on that too. However, I always say this one can be good or bad, right? It depends how you roll it out. I remember when we were up for honor board, we went from toxic board, right, to an honor board with our new superintendent. So it was like a huge accomplishment. And he said something. He said, you know, he had been a superintendent for 24 years. And he said, this board has challenged me the most, and I am better for it. And that always stuck with me. Right? Always stuck with me because it's like, yeah, we ask the hard questions, but we're asking the hard questions, doing our homework, but it's not an I gotcha, right? It's not an I gotcha or, you know, making it seem like, well, we're going to do whatever we want. We're not going to listen to your recommendations. It's nothing like that. It's through respect that you have the dialogue, right? And you have those robust conversations that are going to move your district forward, not I got you, superintendent kind of thing. So this could be good or bad. So you can take it both ways. But let's just talk about phase two real quick, because I know we need to move on. There's disagreement, there's tension, there is getting involved in the weeds. What are some things you can do to combat that?
Maybe asking those questions in advance so that.
Okay.
Kind of have a little bit more understanding of it, or going on to a website, TA, and researching it so you're more informed.
Asking in advance, being educated about some of those things, right?
Yeah.
Educating yourself.
Yeah, when you know a little bit more about the subject, what you're voting on, it makes it easier. If you understand the lingo and you know the acronyms that get used, it makes it a lot easier to track along what's going on.
And I will say to your point, Jesse, real quick, or you said it too, like, oh, I didn't know how it's going to impact these teachers, right? But also you have the ability to have site-based decision making in your district. That's why you have committees. So if you impanel a committee to do the work and they bring the recommendation, most of the time, 9 out of 10, they're going to look at all of those dominoes, right? And they're going to come up with a recommendation. Now, it doesn't mean that you're 100% going to agree with everything they say all the time, but know that there has been a lot of work put into it, a lot of effort, that they have looked and turned over a lot of those rocks, right? So that's why you have committees to kind of help you, and you get the buy-in from that committee. Those are stakeholders in your community and in your staff that are on these committees. So you have a cross section of them. So then when they say, Jesse, why did you vote that? Well, you know, our committee, what is made up of community members, is made out of parents and students and staff. This is the recommendation they brought forward, right? So that's what committees are about. So that's also something to, and y'all have committees here, right? Okay. So also utilizing your committees. I'm going to put utilizing committees. And I'm also going to put remembering you're a trustee.
We met a district at Holdsworth that they use stay out of the weeds. And when they bring that up, then they know, hey, move on. They just tell each other, you're in the weeds, stay out of the weeds. And then
Yes.
they move on.
I love it. And you know, I had this other district, what they did, they brought and this was a symbol to them, they brought a little airplane, and everybody had a little airplane. And so when they would pick it up, it's like, get back on your 30,000-foot view. You should not be down here in the weeds. So use what works for you. We're getting a little horse because we have a saying in our district. We're like, you're beating a dead horse. What are you doing? So we're going to pick up a little horse. He's like, yeah, bájale, you know, that's enough, right? You've been talking, Esperanza, you've been talking for 20 minutes about that. Get over your pink carpet, right? So whatever works for you, whether it's a little symbol, whether having it on a sticker on your desk there, whatever works for you, but keeping that in mind, keeping the focus, right? Focus.
You know, I would say as well on this is just respecting different views of board members,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean just respecting it, not discounting.
Yes. Everybody has a different lens that they bring to, right? That they bring. And I always tell people, right? I'm going to have to say this little caveat thing is yes, respect that people have different views. Doesn't mean that you have to like each other. It's okay not to like each other, but you got to respect that everybody's coming from a different place. And, you know, Jesse might have something that I never thought about. So that's great that I can see it from a different lens. I still don't agree with him, but now I can see his lens, right? Okay.
Some districts streamline their the agenda items and then put time limits on it. So
Mhm.
we're you know, they're like, okay, this is a normal thing, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. This is a big item, 20 minutes. And that way, when you're getting towards that time limit, you say, hey, we've reached that time. Because a lot of times we go back and forth, and we just beat a dead horse, and we just keep going round and
Yes.
round. Where in the end, we just need to vote.
Yeah.
And either it passes, it doesn't pass, and it goes back, and it's fixed how we suggested, and they bring it back. but we do beat that horse to death. a lot.
Yes. And so what you can do is call the question. So procedurally, you can call the question. So, Esperanza already talked about that 20 times. Madam President, I call the question. That means that ends debate, discussion. All those in favor? Now you have to have a super majority for that. So that means 5 people need to say, yes, let's end discussion. At least 5. Yes.
So call the question, it goes to vote to end discussion.
Yeah.
And then you.
Yes.
vote.
And then so you call the question, you vote on that, and I'm going to teach you everything in Board Officer Institute, Laura, and my officers. But you call the question, you take a vote, and then, okay, now we're back to the main motion. Now we're going to vote on the main motion, which was to purchase 10 pink buses. And now you take your vote. Because if not, you'll be there forever, as you all have been.
So once we've done the call to question,
Uh-huh.
right? The 5 vote to end the discussion,
Mhm.
you go back to the original motion.
Yes.
Right? Or but if there hasn't been a motion made, you still have to allow for motion, second discussion.
You still have to say discussion, but you already called the question, so you're not going to go through that whole thing all over again, but you have to technically say it, right?
Mhm.
Okay, any further discussion? We already called the question once, so, like, I'm watching you. We're not going to do it again. And then you take the vote.
Because at that point, if it more discussion becomes, then we can do
Yeah.
it again.
Yeah,
I
but
call-
shouldn't have to.
You shouldn't have to, but
Yes.
call the question. 5 people
Absolutely.
vote, then at that point, it's
Yes.
vote on the original.
And then your president can always say, as a reminder, we already called the question on this. So I know there's no further discussion on this. You can always say something like that to preface it. But that's an easy way to end it, right?
I'm gonna practice it. Madam President, call the question.
Nice. I like it. I like it.
Cause yeah, like Robert said, we beat it all the way.
But I'd
Yeah.
really like to see more people attend, because even if we have shorter discussion, let's say, because we end up with the same people.
Yes.
And there's only 20 people here, I'd like to see 100 people show up,
Mhm.
shorter questions, but at least we get 100 people seeing how the procedure.
Or
works.
involved, right?
But
Or
not only that,
engaged.
Just showing up here, but even watching them, I mean, because we.
Yes.
Like watching, watch, but I've heard people come, it's gonna take me 3 days to watch your board meeting,"
That's right.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, because not everybody can make it here, but if we can keep it to where we're getting all the information out in a respectful time, more people will watch and be informed.
And it's really helpful, right? Because when we get those emails, saying, why did you vote that way, Erica? You can link your video and say, oh,
I have done that. I have
Yes.
marked down, like, okay, it is this time. Okay, I know questions are gonna come up with this, like, go to hour 5 and 33 minutes.
yes,
And you will see.
yes. And I'll,
Seriously, I kid you not.
yes, no, it's really important. I mean, I will say, the body corporate has voted yes or no, and you can see more of that in our video, right? And they can see it or don't see it, but it's there. But it's not like, oh, I'm sorry, let me change my vote now,
No, I think it's just to the point now, when I look at the agenda, I'm having to say, well, we need to move this and we need to move that.
Yes.
Because our presenters, one night we had a presenter presenting at 11 o'clock at night.
Yes.
So then we have to shift everything, because then we have travelers. You don't want them driving,
That's right.
at midnight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Instead of, I'm sure it's supposed to flow a certain way, but then student recognition, we don't want them here all night long
That's
listening
right.
to us battling out yes or no.
That's right. So you have to move them to the top. And so that's something that you can do an agenda setting in advance. Oh, we're going to have a presenter and you have it listed later on the agenda. Let's move them up. Let's move all we're going to do our student recognition first, and then we're going to move all these presenters, these out of town presenters first. And then, you should, but you'll do that at agenda setting before you get out here. You do it at agenda setting when you meet with your superintendent. That's when you can craft that agenda to be reflective. Or if there's a controversial item and you're going to have a lot of people here, hey, move that to the top so that you can talk it out. And yeah, it's going to take 3 hours, but that's what they came to see, right? So things like that. So you have that opportunity to really craft that agenda to be more efficient So that's important. Okay, phase three, because I'm still here.
I
I'm
just- I
sorry.
have one comment on,
Yes.
this is what, after, during closed session, coming out of closed session. And I find a lot of times that, I mean, we've been back there for a long time, right? And we're like getting, and trying to get up and get going. But we don't take the time to recap, like, this is the goal, or this is what we're gonna do, like the objective, right? The direction that we're giving the superintendent, and then we come back, it's like, well, what was your understanding? What was this? What was that? It's like, that's because everybody was at the end. Let's just get out of here, kind of thing. So I think
session at the end of
we do that, but you know, once we're.
Lately, we've been to the top because we've had.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
We've had legal here that have to, that obviously charged by the.
But, you know, that's where a lot of the disagreement comes out, you know, like, we just don't have a clear direction. Well, at least I don't. Sometimes I'm confused and have to call somebody, say, what was your understanding?
I think we need to recap at the end.
Right.
Any closed session. Just
But you get.
Say that, you know, I just said, okay, then we need to be more focused and we need to say, wait a minute. Like, I don't understand what you just said.
Mhm.
And that's what we need to do, because we're listening, and okay, this is how it is, this is the law, whatever. But then get into other stuff, and then we come out here, and I've had several board members tell me, came out, I was tired, I don't think I fully understood. I mean, these are things we're voting on, so trying to get better about shortening up the closed session. If we don't have to go to closed session, then we're not gonna go to closed session.
Yeah, I know one year I took closed session totally off, but that was during the pandemic. But yes, understanding you're not voting in closed session. You can have discussion, you can have a presentation, ask your questions there because that are confidential, right? And then as board president, you can say, okay, team, so what we just heard, and you can recap, or you can designate your superintendent to give you a quick recap, or sometimes I even have our board secretary that recaps it and says, okay, so what we heard. And then once you start doing that, then it's going to be easier for you to kind of understand, and you're not going to have to do it all the time. Like eventually you want to wean off of that, right? Because everybody should understand what's happening, but say, okay, so we talked about real estate. We had 2 properties and we are putting them out for sale. So we're all good with that? Okay. It's the next closed session agenda item is personnel, and we are hiring a principal. Okay. Does everybody understand the recommendation that they just gave? Yes. Okay, cool. We're good.
I second for the board secretary.
Yeah. So whoever you would like to appoint board president, whether it's yourself or the superintendent, it's like, hey, I got this. I'll give you a quick recap. You know, then that superintendent can do that.
just for, no, this is what y'all tell me to do.
Yes.
Does anybody disagree with what?
And
I'm
it's done
telling you?
before you come out.
Yeah,
And I think she's got full understanding of like, this is what y'all want me to do.
yeah.
Yes.
I need that understanding.
Yes.
because Sometimes.
I think if you recap and say, if I.
So that'll be perfect for the
Something's not-
superintendent. It's like,
That's right.
okay, this is what I heard, but I'm not quite sure. And again, we're not making any decisions in closed session, but she can give you a recap because she needs to know exactly what. Yeah,
We're calling her
yes,
stuff, and in her mind, this is what we talked about already, and we were all in the same understanding that this is what we're gonna go
Yes.
for. When she's asking,
Mhm.
1 or 2 board members, what was your thought last night? She's not asking for a vote.
Mhm.
She just wants to be clear before she goes
Yeah.
forward.
So that'll be good for
And
her
then
to do
we
it.
can-
Do
Yeah.
it.
Yes,
Yeah.
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 And real short, because you're already in there, and sometimes it can go long. So real short recap. So you all are in agreement that we're gonna put that property for sale, kind of thing, or don't take the money, whatever the case may be, right? So good. I think that's a great idea to recap.
What happens is when we start doing that, going back and asking questions, the superintendent, like, if you can imagine the time that it takes her, like, she needs to be running the business or at the school.
Yes.
And here we are, like, and like,
Calling a million
"Call
times.
A meeting,
Yes.
and it just, it's time consuming. I feel bad when I have to go back and ask.
Yes.
Like, was I not listening or, you know, but they just, anyway.
I would
That's why I
totally
bring it up.
say that. I would say, why wasn't Jesse listening? You know, but yeah, that's a great way to handle it, is for you to do a very short recap, right? Because you've already been there for 2 hours. So short recap of it, right? Good way to do it. Perfect. Okay, we're gonna move on because it's 15 and I have so much to share with you. Okay, phase 3. We can rely on each other. We work as a team. So this is overwhelmingly disagree. So we're going to work on that. It's an opportunity, right? This team is spending the time planning how it will get its work done. And 50% disagree, or 60%. That yellow is terrible. Okay, thank you for being my eyes there. This team is able to form subgroups or subcommittees to work on specific tasks. This is another thing that was 50-50 on that one. Roles are becoming clearer in the team. And again, the majority disagreed with that. Oops. Okay, so this is phase 3. So now let's talk about phase 3 and what are some things you can implement to kind of solve some of these issues. These are normal issues. This happens. But what are some things you can do?
I think shorter meetings, because I
Okay.
find sometimes our board meetings are dominated by some people, and
Mhm.
it doesn't allow for, it just feels like it, not everyone always has a voice in it because you get so lost, like
Yes.
after going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, you just kind of like, okay, I get tuned out.
Yeah, for sure.
Of all the conversation having, because it's just recirculating. So I think having
Exactly.
shorter meetings.
So I'm going to push you a little further and say maybe stretch a little bit and say efficient meetings.
I like that.
Okay. So having more efficient meetings. And I'm telling you, a lot of this you can do with how you're going to run your meeting. And y'all are going to be awesome at this, at running and navigating this meeting, right? Because one thing, instead of just letting anybody, do you just let anybody talk? Okay, so instead of doing that, what we're going to do, I'm board president, right? And instead, okay, agenda item, whatever, okay, discussion, I'm opening it up. I'm going to go to my right side.
Oh, I did start doing that.
Oh, yay.
Started this.
Perfect. So you're going to alternate, right, from left to right, but you talk one time.
Do that for voting, not
Yeah.
for discussion.
Not for discussion.
Do it for discussion too. So go to my right and I'm making eye contact with Jesse, Javier, everybody, right? Now I'm going to go to my left. So, so you won't be stuck just hearing from one person that keeps dominating the conversation, right? Because you're going to get everybody one turn to talk, and then Laura gets to talk. As president, you always go last. And by the time they come to you, it's like, I don't have anything to say anymore, right? That was the first time ever that I didn't talk so much, was when I was board president for 2 years. Oh my goodness. I was dying and I couldn't talk, right? Because it's already been said, and there's no need. So doing that and alternating, and then being able to say, okay, team, I think we've already gone in circles with this. So if you don't call the question, you can always say, okay, team, we've already gone over this several times. There's nothing different. No one's adding anything different. So let's go ahead, and the motion is blah, 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 blah. Second. Okay, any further discussion? And by that time, they're going to get the hint after a while. It might not happen the first time. You might still have one or two that want to discuss, and then you take the vote. Okay, so that's another way that you can do it, to make sure that everybody gets, because it used to be like, even on my board, where I would sit at the end and nobody could see me because I'm super short, right? And I had all these tall people in between us. Nobody could see me. And whoever yelled the loudest first, me, that's the person who dominated the whole meeting, right? So it's really important to be making eye contact, making sure that you alternate side to side. So that's good. You're doing it for voting. Bless you. But keep that in mind. Okay, what else? Efficient meetings. And I'm going to say, how you run discussion. How you run the discussion. That's going to be important. Okay. Anything else for phase 3? Roles are becoming clearer in this team. That was something that you need work on. How do you think you can kind of solve that or work on that?
I think we just had a big change in so
Mhm.
that it's this vote decision on this. Maybe.
So tell me a little more.
Well, we just had a big president, vice president, secretary.
So you have new officers. So, mhm. Okay. So getting to know what their role is, right? And they need to know what their role is and what they can do and what they cannot do and all of that good stuff
Yeah,
too.
and I think just knowing what our roles as trustees, what those are,
Mm-hmm.
the roles and responsibilities. Like Jesse mentioned earlier, not dipping into the management portion. of it.
Yes.
That's one thing we learned at Holsworth is, you know, that line, you don't want, you as a board, you as a trustee should not go into the management portion of it.
And it's easy to do, right?
And nothing good happens at a board meeting after 10 p.m.
That's right. That's why we got to end these meetings early, right? We are going to,
I said,
they're going to be effective and efficient. And also, I do want to tell you that you can also put in your local policy and or board operating procedures that you take the pulse of the team. If you're meeting, we have it at 10:30. So at 10:30, if we're still going, we say, team, do you want to continue or do you want to move this to next month? And then the team's like, oh, I'm too tired. Let's move it. Or,
I
it's gonna.
can understand that.
Mhm.
The only thing is, I wouldn't wait another month. I would say we would have. to
Well,
have
whatever,
another meeting
whenever your
in 2
meeting
weeks
is,
because,
yes.
We have been so far behind on business that, you know, that we can't get.
Because of all the discussion.
Yes.
well,
Yeah.
not having a meeting in May, having to shut down that meeting, put us behind and then not agreeing on pay and compensation and all that. So that just put us behind too.
Mhm. Yeah, you can always have special meetings,
Having special meetings.
but you can if you need to. Yeah. Yes, you do.
You
And
know,
it's going to be about running those meetings efficiently, right? And not letting the discussion go on for hours.
I would
That's
like
gonna
see-
help
I would
you.
like to see if we do a change in the policy or the procedures. If it's at around 10 o'clock and we take a, you know, no, we can't make really good decisions, that we just have a second meeting to finish the agenda, not to add anything else.
Yes.
again.
Well, yeah, we would
Yeah,
have to
we would
post
have
again.
to-
Yes.
You would need to wait 2 weeks.
Yeah. I mean,
A week, I'm sorry, week, yeah.
yeah.
Even if it's the same item.
Yes. Because of the new law that you have to, yeah.
We wouldn't be adding to.
Yeah,
No.
Just always host for 2 meetings and then just cancel each
Just
meeting.
do the
If
backup.
we're effective.
Look at how smart.
could do that.
Oh my goodness. Robert, you're a genius.
He
Look
is
at
Robert.
you. It's that hat.
Robert-
It protects your brain. I love thinking creatively, right?
So right now we're meeting on the third Monday of each month. We can do the first and the third Monday of each.
We just do the Monday and Tuesday, and then if we get.
Yeah,
everything
that would
done,
be
we just
great.
cancel Tuesday's meeting.
Okay,
Monday, Tuesday.
you're smarter than I am.
I mean, check with your lawyer, but I think you should be good. But I'm not a lawyer. Robert's not a lawyer, right? Are you a lawyer?
Yes.
Okay, well then you're telling us it's okay? If you say it's okay then, because I'm not a lawyer. Okay. So I would just check with your attorney, but that's a great idea. Love it. Okay. Look how we're solving all the problems in the world. It's beautiful. Okay. Next up, phase 4. Are you still with me or do you need a break?
There's
Okay.
pizza back there for them.
Yes. Phase 4 is the last. Well, I think I have 3 more slides. Do y'all want to eat your pizza before it gets cold? You smelled it, right? We can pause here. It's fine.
Oh, yeah, we're good.
You're okay? Okay. Phase 4. Look at this. You got a star. This team acts on its decisions. So that's awesome. Right? But Jesse, is it always true? You act on, you make a decision, take action, and you stick by that action item, or do you put it back on the agenda?
Sometimes.
Oh, don't tell me that.
That was
No, not very often.
one, it was a legal thing.
Yeah.
It's been
Okay.
Yeah,
But
yeah, it's been
It's-
once, it's been at least three that I
It's been
remember.
about that.
But now we know better. And look at, you're getting your gold star for knowing that you act on your decisions, you respect the body corporate, and you move on, right? Perfect. I love it. Look at that. 83% is beautiful with 17%. 100% of you agree with that. Okay. Team members want to work within this team again in the future. Now, this one is, what is it? 50% said, no way. No way. So, how can we work on that? You know what? It's going to help this is building a foundation of trust. Then you're going to just all just snuggle in and want to work together forever. Forever. So, phase 4. Give me some suggestions.
Yeah, I would agree, so.
Yeah, I think it's just a respect thing, just respecting the different views and I forgot to mention earlier, but when you respect the different views and then you respect what the board decided to do and support that,
Mhm.
even though it went against what you wanted,
Yep.
respect that, like if,
What's the end result here?
Yeah, whatever the
Kids and
end- yeah.
teachers and I guess, the public doesn't see it when we're in closed session and they never will, but
Yes.
we don't always agree.
Yep.
Many times we don't agree, but at the end, it's what's best.
That's right.
And we need to not get our feelings hurt when I don't agree and everybody else agrees, or three of us don't agree, but the majority does. We're entitled to our own opinions and our own feelings, but in the end, I think we steer away from who are we making this decision for?
Yes.
Yeah, I was actually asked after one of our votes, I was on the nay side. Somebody asked me, so what are you gonna do? I said, well, I'm gonna respect what the board wanted to
That's
do,
right.
and I'm gonna support the board.
That's right.
The board spoke, the majority went with it, and that's what we're gonna do. And they're gonna have my full support.
And that is sticking to the ethical standards for board members that the state says we should follow, right? And one of our roles is to understand of respecting the body corporate and the decision that is made. I don't have to agree with it. And I can still say, hey, I didn't agree with it, but now it's over. I respect the body corporate. So that's really important. I think taking that personal feelings out is huge because sometimes people let their egos get involved, right? And sometimes, when you run for a board position, you're promising things that, you can't do. You need 4 votes to do anything, right? And just making sure that you're aware of that, being cognizant of that. So respect differing views, respecting the body corporate, and building trust with each other. I think that really is going to help you want to work together for the better good. Doesn't mean I have to like you. I might not like any of you, but I'm going to work with you to make things great for our kids because that's the bottom line while we're here for our true north, which is our kids. Okay. And then this continues with phase 4 and y'all were okay there. And then I am going to tell you, you have so much potential here. There is so much potential with this team believes. All of this is about believing. You believe you can be effective. You believe that you can work together for the better good. This shows it by your scores. This team believes they can do it and they can do hard things. So if you keep that in the forefront when you're here making decisions, knowing that as a team, you can do anything. So much potential. I love that.
I like the number 4.
Yes.
As this team believes that no assignment is too tough.
That's right. You have done very hard things and you are able to do it together. Because when you're all going in different directions, it's hard to move in to that same goal. But when you all work together, wow, so many things can be accomplished. And I really love this slide with the potential. Okay. And then psychological safety. There were some scores that were pretty good. I just want to highlight real quick. Members of the team are able to discuss problems and tough issues You all scored high on that one. And then I just wanted to go to sharing information. This is another one. Team members listen actively to each other, and 66% agreed with that. Then you got a gold star. On this team, I share all the relevant information and ideas I have. That is phenomenal that you feel safe enough to share your ideas. So that is definitely a gold star because that was 100% of y'all. Okay. Co-construction, team members elaborate on each other's information ideas. So you work off of each other. That's really good. You got another gold star here, Javier. Look, if something is not clear, we ask each other questions, right? You talked about that, Jesse. Might be a million questions, but we ask them and we get our answer. And then information from team members is complemented with information from other team members. So Robert had us a really good idea and I can build upon that. Oh, Erica had a great idea. Oh, that makes sense. I never thought, and build from each other instead of like, no, it's my great idea. Nobody else has a better idea, right? You have to be able to be flexible and work together. Okay, so I'm almost done. Constructive conflict. Team members draw conclusions from the ideas that are discussed in the team. That was a positive. And so the blue is like more positive, right? Comments on ideas are acted upon. Okay, one thing to work on, this team tends to handle differences of opinions by addressing them directly. So that was, you disagreed with that. But now that you know it's okay not to take things personal, it's okay that we don't all agree. It's okay. We're going to build this foundation of trust. We're going to get there. Then opinions and ideas of team members are verified by asking each other critical questions. You all scored really high on that one. Okay, so I'm gonna go let you all eat pizza, and then I'm gonna come back to this because I want to dive a little bit deeper to your full score. Okay, so we will take. Are y'all okay eating in the dais? So if you want to grab your food, take a bathroom break. We will be back in 10 minutes. 7:42. Okay.
At 7:42 for a 10-minute recess.
let's go ahead and, oh, well, you want to welcome us back, Laura?
Yes, the time now is 7:45. We are back from our break.
Fantastic. So I just want to look at your overall score for your team. So your overall score is a 2.89 that takes into account all the phases that you did. And so I want to talk a little bit about what that means, right? Oh, now my clicker doesn't work. Did I turn it off? Oh, okay. Okay, so we are going to look at the 4 phases of team development. You have your first phase, which is forming. That's when you have a high degree of guidance that's needed. Your individual roles are very unclear. Your process usually is not well established. Well, you all passed that. You're past forming. You are now in storming phase, which is number 2. You're trying to understand how team decisions are made. Your purpose is clear, but team relationships are a little blurry, right? Does that sound kind of accurate based on your scores you got? But what you're moving towards is a next phase, which is norming. That's when relationships are well understood in the team. You have a commitment to team goals and you begin to work to really optimize that team process. So that is your goal for the next year, right? So 1 year from now, you should at least be in the norming stage, right? That is what we're going to look forward to when we do this assessment again, is getting you to norming and implementing all these things that we talked about in your phases. That's going to get you there. And then at the end, you are going to be in the performing stage. So maybe in 2 years, or if you're GT, maybe it'll be sooner, but at least in 2 years, the team is committed to performing well, focuses on being strategic, and team runs well with little oversight, right? So you're in phase 2, storming. You are going to work towards getting to stage 3, which is norming. Do we have any questions about this? Okay. So in order to move that needle, we're going to focus on 3 things: trust, focus, and collaborate. And you all said all of those things. You all talked about trust. You all talked about focusing, right? And then collaborating as well. Now, how to improve. So these are some strategies that you can use to improve and move forward, because like I said, 1 year from now, you are going to be there. Clarifying purpose and roles. And you can do that by revisiting your goals and expectations, defining responsibilities clearly to understand those roles. What does the secretary do? What does the board president do? What does the vice president do? What is my role as a trustee? Making sure you're clear about that. Like you talked about, you have new officers. So you're trying to see where are you going to go? Because as board officers, that can differ from year to year. Who is your officer? It can differ on what their responsibilities are. You have minimum requirements that you have to do as the officer position that you have, but then you can also add to that, right? Like he wanted to add to board secretary, the recapping ability, right? So those are things that you can talk about and use the skill set of your team, right? Utilize their skill set. If JJ is really great at parliamentary rules, then he can be focused on that as vice president and he can help you with that and be aware. And you've attended enough sessions to understand it, right? And I apologize. I had laminated Robert Rules of Orders to give out and I forgot them on my desk. So I will get them to y'all next time. So everybody can have them. So everybody can have that easy guide to do it. Okay. Communicate openly. And you all talked a little bit about this, right? Respecting others' views. So encourage, and somebody talked about dialogue. You talked about right here, Jesse, you talked about dialogue, right? Having dialogue. So encourage respectful dialogue. It's okay to disagree. It's okay to question things, but always having professional decorum when you do that, right? So I might totally disagree with the recommendation of the committee, but it's all on how you frame it. It's all on how you say it. and being respectful to the committee members, being respectful to your colleagues here, even if you disagree, right? Even if I have a dumb idea with my pink carpet, you're still gonna, oh, okay, well, thanks for your input, Esperanza, right? And listen actively and avoid blame. And you know when that's gonna happen, Jesse? It's gonna happen when I don't tune you out, right? So we're going to be more effective with our words by not asking a million questions, but highlighting those important, critical questions and making sure that we listen. I'm going to listen because Jesse's talking and I know he's going to highlight some really important points. Avoid blame. Oh, it's Erica's fault that the meeting went till 1 a.m, making sure you avoid blame. You're all in together. You're all in. Address conflict early. So be direct, not personal. Focus on solutions. Making sure to focus on solutions. And a lot of that can be addressed with two things, with procedurally through Robert's Rules of Order, and then also through your social contract. Those are two ways to address conflict early. And build trust. We keep talking about trust and believing in your team. Keep commitments. Oh, hey, that sounds a little bit applicable to decisions. So when you take action and you respect the body corporate, you keep your commitments and don't waffle, right? In between. Oh, well, foster collaboration. There's your collaboration. Making sure we build trust. Like you said, Jesse, you pointed out about talking to other board members, right? And it's not for the, I gotcha kind of plan, but for fostering collaboration. Or JJ, you said something that triggered, this, I never saw it that way. Can you talk a little bit more about that? But remember, before you talk to other board members, I'll say this little caveat, always say, oh, Robert, I want to talk to you about the agenda item on transportation. Have you talked to anybody else? No. Okay. I haven't talked to anybody else. So now it's 2. So we can only talk to how many more people about transportation? An agenda item? 1. Because if not, if I talk to Robert and he hasn't even had a chance to breathe, right? And I'm like, can you believe that transportation? I'm going to vote no because blah, blah, blah. And Robert's like, whoa, 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 whoa. I already had a discussion with JJ and Erica about how I'm voting or what I think. Now we're in a walking quorum. So it's always good to preface any conversation. If you're going to talk about an agenda item with, have you talked to anybody else about agenda item J2, purchasing of buses? Okay. So get into that habit because you don't want to get yourself. Have you talked to anybody about compensation? Okay. Oh, how many people?
2.
Okay. I'm out. So I can't talk to him. Erica, have you talked to, and then, because maybe I want to brainstorm or I want to like, what are you thinking about this? Whatever. You're not trying to solicit votes. You're trying to get a better understanding. So understanding that, right? But get into that practice of doing that. Yes.
So if we've made a decision and then I get an inkling that it might not have been what everybody thought we were doing, what the attorneys have a different interpretation because of language. It's okay for me to ask 2 board members like, hey, like not together, separately, like what was your understanding of what we voted on? Like what was your understanding of like what I'm supposed to do? And I get 2 that are not in line.
So you don't have to worry about walking quorum for you, right? As long as you don't share what they tell you. So you could technically meet with everybody and ask them what they thought, right? Individually, but you can't say, well, Laura, JJ thought this, because then that'll get them in trouble. Right. Not you, like you don't have to worry about that, but they would, because it's like, oh, Laura now knows what Jesse said and what Javier said and what Jacqueline said. And that's when.
What if I get the inkling, okay, I've talked to 2 and that's not the understanding. So then I have to say, okay, board president, we have a problem. And then we have to tell people like, we don't think the understanding is correct. So we're going to have to talk about this again.
How do they not understand?
Cause it happened, it was a decision that was made about 11:30 at night. And the
I don't think it was clear.
the language on the
Oh.
motion was not clear.
Okay.
It was an understood. I thought something was understood. But then the attorneys said, no,
That's not
can't,
what they
it's
heard.
not, yeah, not understood. So
So,
I'm just asking, I
definitely.
can verify, like, okay,
Yes,
this is
yes.
what you heard. But now we're gonna recap and we're not gonna have that issue, but I
Yes,
didn't break any
exactly.
laws by asking
Correct.
people what they understood.
No, you don't have to follow that
Okay.
part,
thank
just
you.
as long as you don't share. You're good.
Thank
Yes.
you.
And it's not gonna happen because you're not going to 11:30
That's
anymore.
right.
Right.
Right? And you're recapping. So we're taking care of these situations. Everybody's gonna know what they're voting on. And if you don't, it's like, what do they say at weddings? Forever hold your peace
right.
there. I mean, yes, Laura's gonna say, okay, everybody knows what they're voting on, right? If not, forever hold your peace. We're not gonna keep redoing this over and over because, yes, yeah, just go like this. Okay. Build trust. We talked about that. Good question. Lead calmly and fairly. Model patience, consistency, and be respectful, right? You don't have to like the person, but you need to be respectful. You need to model patience as board members, especially our board president. I will tell you, I had some bad behavior when I was a trustee my first year. And, I had a board member that was just over the top. And so I would sometimes have body language that was not appropriate, right? Because I'd be like, that was totally wrong. And I learned and I didn't do it anymore. But then as board president, I could not do it at all, even more. But be aware of your body language, right? Because your body language does show a lot. So you want to be respectful, model patience, be consistent. I don't have a favorite. Erica's not my favorite over JJ, right? Not showing favoritism. Well, okay, Erica, you're my favorite. You got it. So lead calmly and fairly. And it's not easy. It's not easy, especially during times of conflict. But as president, I will show you some things that you can do to kind of break that momentum of negativity.
I think it's important being honest with each other, like
Mhm.
feedback. I had a couple of things that really stood out. Staff told me one day, they said, you need to stand still when you're doing the pledge. You're like all over the place. You're looking through paperwork and like, they just called me out.
Wow.
Like you need to just stay at attention to the flag. They're doing that. And then that was one time. So now I have to really just stand there, right? Because I don't want to get called out. And then the other one, we had just recognized, I just give you a hand. It was one of the girls up there. And so we had just recognized the top 10. And we go to a restaurant and I'm all cool and everything. And, hey, I recognize you. Yeah, I know who you are. And I said, so what do you think of our meetings? And she looked at me, she goes, how many times can he say the same thing without saying thing at all? Man, talk about this little girl that just like
Wow.
said it. I looked at her and I was like, I didn't know what to say. I just looked at her, I just smiled. I was like, let's just pay and get out of here. She was brutal. Yeah, she literally told me that. How many times can you say the same thing without saying thing at all? Yeah, that's a kid telling you that.
Wow.
What do they say? The words of babes, right? They tell you the honest truth.
Little
Right.
kid.
Well, and I also had my child tell me, because she watches the meetings, that I needed to watch my face.
Yes, body language.
I was like,
You
okay,
think
note
you're not
taken,
rolling
yeah.
your eyes or even, making a face,
Right.
and that was one thing that I was president during the pandemic. So we had masks on, so you couldn't see my face when people were yelling at us. So that was one thing that came out of that is like, you could not tell because I was like, but yes, your body language, your arms, the way you're sitting, all of that, people notice, right?
People come to do the open forum,
Yes.
it's that eye contact. I like taking notes. But, I to remind myself, like, you gotta look up. I'm literally paying a lot of attention, I'm writing it all down.
It's
But I
hard
also
because I
know that-
think I've been on that side too, and I go out there and And it's like nobody smiles. Everybody's just like a stone and you're like,
Yes.
you're just like sweating bullets. They're like, it's like, it makes you.
So now
extra
you know,
nervous.
right?
Yes.
Mhm.
And I always like feel bad for them because I think it's so much courage that you have to get up because you know everybody's watching.
Yes.
And then if we're just here like,
Yeah. Because you can't be like expressive about it, like, yay, hooray, I'm glad you said something, or boo, you can't
That's
have that
right.
facial reaction. But your board president will make sure, thank you so much for speaking, right?
Yeah.
And then also being able to reading a little script saying, just so you understand, board members cannot talk during this time. Sometimes you have to say that because they're like, we've had people yell at us, why aren't you responding? Why isn't anybody talking to me?
We say it at the beginning
Yes.
of the agenda when we're getting ready to let them speak, and there's been times before, that's why I like to make that eye contact.
Yes.
Because before we've been told, why are you writing it down? You're not gonna do anything about it anyway, so I just choose not, just to have
Yeah.
that eye contact.
And then go back to the recording if you need to capture any information because people watch. What are you doing? Well, they didn't listen to me. They were on their phone. There's been board members that have been caught now that everything's being videoed and recorded, right? And people have been caught like they're on their phone and not paying attention to the public speaker. So being real careful of that. Okay, so we're finished with that part. And it is 8 o'clock. So we have an hour, 8:02. So we are going to skip the social contract piece. I'm hoping to come back and do it with all of you because I would like to have all of you, all 8 to have that buy-in, right? So we're going to skip this and we are going to go to, don't look. Board roles and responsibilities. Okay. So remember I told you, I think I've told you, or you've been in my session, I was an elementary teacher. So I have my little paddles for green and red to signify something. You can definitely keep them and use them on each other.
Yeah, board meetings.
Yeah. Like,
move on.
that's right. It's like, what are you talking about, Laura? That is, yeah, we're not gonna hit, no hitting. Okay, so what do you think the green stands for?
Good.
Good.
No.
Go.
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 Governance. Governance. Good. Governance. Okay, what does the M stand for?
Management.
Management. Very good. So
Stop.
keep that in.
Is it a yellow star?
You get a star. You get a star. You get a star. Everybody gets a star. So before we start that though, because I'm going to have you use your paddles, I just want to refresh and frame our thoughts here. The Board of Trustees is a governing body for Texas public schools. We serve 5.5 million students in Texas. 5.5 million. To effectively meet the challenges of public education, we have a little bit of challenges, right, this year. School boards and superintendents must function, what is the word? Together as a governance leadership team. Does it mean you have to agree with everything?
No.
No, absolutely not. You do not have to agree with everything. But when that vote is taken, you have to respect what? The body corporate. You respect the body corporate, right? You have to work together because you have to understand that you want your superintendent to reach their goals because what does that mean for students? That they are achieving, right? If they meet their goals, that means your district is doing really good. So you want to make sure one of our jobs as board members is setting up the conditions for success for our superintendent and our district. So the basic roles of the board, and y'all probably have heard this if you've been in my class, responsible school governance. And that does start with knowing what you're voting on, right? Making sure that you are aware of what's going on. High expectations. We talk about high expectations for students. They need to be performing, high expectations for our staff. They need to be the best ones out there. They're going to be, do y'all do TIA here? They're going to be, designated as master teachers and all of this. We want the best. But how about high expectations for who? The board. What? High expectations for the board. That means that not only do we practice professional decorum, but we run and we work together, effective, efficient meetings, that we keep students in the forefront and focus on students when we're making decisions. Because sometimes we're going to have to make hard decisions that might not be convenient for adults, but it's best for kids. And that's why we're here, for our kids, right? So it's important to keep that in the forefront. High expectations. Conditions for success, setting up those conditions for success for your superintendent, right? Because that's who's your one employee? Superintendent. That's it. Superintendent. So setting up those conditions for success are going to be imperative to making sure that your district keeps moving in the right direction and accomplishing those goals. District accountability. There has to be accountability, right? Why are we performing here? Are we seeing the growth? Are you tracking towards your goals? District accountability is important. Now, it is based on data. It is measurable. It is not subjective, right? We have moved away from that subjectiveness. And then we have our community engagement. It is important. You are an ambassador of the district, right? That is our role. We are ambassadors of the district. That doesn't mean we say everything's great with the district. There's no problems here. Don't look. No, it's okay to say, hey, we're working. We know that we have a problem in our bilingual education program, but we're working on it. This is how we're addressing it. Yes, our compensation plan, it's not exactly what we want, but we don't have money right now. So this is what it's going to look like. And it's hard. It's hard to do that. But being truthful, transparent, you talk about transparency, right? So important. We are going to talk to our community about those things. We made this decision because this is what is financially sound for our district right now. You know, in our district, we're the most employee-friendly organization district in the state of Texas, because we've created so much policy, local policy and benefits and all this stuff. We've given increases year after year. This past year, we are in a deficit. So for the first time ever, we had to say, we are not giving an increase to anybody except for the people that met the 3 years and above for the state legislator, what they gave us. And so we get emails, we get calls. Why aren't we getting compensated? You know, don't you care about us? Absolutely. That's why for the past 7 years, we have done X, Y, Z. That's why we have done policy after policy. But now we're in such financial crisis that it's unfortunate, but we cannot do compensation this year. We have been committed to be employee friendly. We're committed to our employees. We know how much work we have to do. But I want to be honest with you, we don't have the money. And next year, we might have to lay off 200 people. So that's the grim reality. But you got to be truthful. You got to be transparent, right? And not blame that and say, well, if the superintendent, you know, we wouldn't have to do that. So making sure you all stick together as a team, because you're making these decisions together, right? You have a recommendation, but then you all vote on it. So you got to make sure that you understand what you're voting on, making sure to communicate that and being honest and not trying to ever get in that position where you are lying to this person and lying to that person because you don't want anybody to be mad at you, right? And that happens as elected officials. You don't want anybody to be mad at you. As a human being, you don't want anybody to be mad at you, but you got to be honest, because that your word is your bond. And if you are saying to Jesse, yeah, we're going to do an increase, we're going to put it back, we're going to do an increase, and then you're telling JJ, I know, I support you, and I know we can't do an increase because we don't have money. That's not okay, right? You're breaking your word there. So just keeping that in mind as you move forward, that goes back to your ethical standards for board members that we're supposed to follow, right? So that's an important piece. Okay. What is the difference between board governance and management? Who wants to tell me? We talked about it. Y'all been to my sessions. Y'all should know this.
Said policy.
Okay, policy. But what are we as board members? What do we do? Oh, I love it. Your trustees. Absolutely. You said policies. You're a trustee looking at the big picture, right? So very good. So the governance side of it, we have the governing principles. We set policy, what a board intends or requires. We make decisions. This is what we intend or require. We are passing this budget. We are passing this compensation package. We're passing this tax rate. We set this policy. We're the what. We are the what. So what do you think the superintendent is?
How?
The how. You were listening. Yeah, you didn't fall asleep during my presentation. So on the management side, they have the process, the plan for implementing district policy. They are the how. So remember that question on the survey that said, when you don't agree on the how, and most of you said, yeah, we don't agree on the how. Do you need to agree on the how? No, because whose job is it? Superintendent, your management, right? They're the ones who manage. We govern from that 30,000 foot. Okay. So govern and oversee management. You all talked a little bit about this. The school board is the what? So what are some things we're in charge of? You said policy. What else?
Pay.
Pay. Talk to me a little bit more about that.
Setting the pay.
Ooh, okay. Setting the rate. So that'll be in our budget, right? The compensation piece. What else? You all know what you do. What do y'all vote on? Think about the things you vote on.
Hiring,
Hiring who?
teachers,
But when you talk about hiring, and this is the distinction I'll make. So yes, we do hire like the principal and the coach and all that, but who's our one employee that we interview?
superintendent.
Superintendent. That's the only one we interview. So people will often say, well, you do hire the coaches, you do hire the. Yes, but we don't interview them. We don't do all of that. We only interview one person, and ding dang, do we interview them, right? And ask them all those questions. So yes, policy, the hiring of the superintendent. What else?
Said budget's already, right?
Said budget. Sorry. Yes, budget.
That's right.
Tax rate. That's a good one. Okay.
Goals.
Yes, the goals. You all adopt the goals. And again, you're that community liaison. You're that ambassador. Now we have the superintendent on this side. The management is the how. What does the superintendent do?
Everything.
Everything. And taking 100 million calls, right? So they are the plans. They're the systems, procedures. They bring you that plan. They monitor it. Oh, that's a new plan. I don't know if I like it. Well, you know what? She's going to monitor it, and she's going to make the adjustments needed if it's not working. But you got to trust the process. And sometimes it's hard to trust the process, right? It gets a little tricky. It's super hot in here. Or is it just me?
Trust the process.
Because I'm walking.
Some of us are questioning.
I'm sorry?
It's really hard to trust the process
Yes.
if some of the board is actually being loud, social media, things like that.
Yes.
Second guessing, basically. It's really hard to do that. You're undermining the process.
That's right. You're undermining the process, right? And that's why it's important, because you can put some of that in your board operating procedures on how board members should be conducting business,
is.
how they should be acting,
It is.
and highlighted for them if need to. Hold them to the social contract as well as an accountability piece. And then at the end of the day, they could be irrelevant. And you need to move on to do the good work of the district for kids. And they can say whatever they want to say. JJ can say whatever he wants on social media, and he doesn't want to be accountable, and he doesn't want to be part of that team. And it's sad because people have entrusted him to be part of the team and to work towards a better good, right? And so that's why it's important that you all hold each other accountable. Now, keep in mind, it is never the superintendent's job to hold board members accountable. Who is responsible?
Ourselves, the board.
The board. Not just the board president, but the board is responsible for holding each other accountable. So if Esperanza is acting badly, then that's a conversation I'm going to have with Esperanza. Not the superintendent. That's our employee. Do you think our employee is going to want to come and say to, like, just like a teacher is going to come up to the principal, well, principal, I don't like the way you're acting. Is that going to happen?
No.
Oh, so why would you expect the superintendent, or some people, not you all, because y'all don't. You all know that it's the board that monitors each other and holds each other accountable. But I mean, that's just it. The superintendent can't do that. But we evaluate goals together as a team of 8. We evaluate policy because they bring a recommendation, or maybe your board policy committee brings it. You evaluate plans and you evaluate the superintendent, because the superintendent also gives a reflection on their evaluation, right? And talks about how they think they did. If they exceed expectations, and I always get the T test and the PDAS wording confused, but anyway, meets expectations, exceeds expectations, and all of that. Okay, are we ready for our scenarios? Because I know we're running out of time and y'all want to leave me at 9. Well, we still have a little bit of time. Okay, who wants to read the first scenario? Go ahead, don't be shy.
The board is discussing the organization's future growth. Some members begin to talk about specific changes to staff responsibilities and how to improve individual performance.
Is that governance or management? Show me your paddles. Everybody said management. What are the key words there?
Specific staff changes.
So it is management. Specific?
How?
Individual
Oh,
performance.
individual, right? But yes, the how, right? Individual. We should never be talking about individual performance of an employee, except who?
Superintendent.
Superintendent. Now, there might be things that come from the community and you tell the superintendent, hey, you might want to check into this because I'm hearing, XYZ. And that's it. Leave it at that. But I'm not going to go talk to that staff and let me change your responsibilities so management. Okay. Super easy, right? Scenario 2.
The board is reviewing the annual budget. One board member suggests reviewing specific line items such as office supplies or staff travel expenses.
Ooh, what do you think it is? It's going to get tricky. Ooh, I have some governance and I have some management. Okay. My management, tell me why.
Because it's talking about office supplies. I mean, just the small day-to-day things.
It's like detail, more
Okay.
It's
detailed.
the day-to-day stuff.
Day-to-day stuff. Okay. And how about my governance people?
It's the annual budget that's being reviewed.
Maybe I pick governance because maybe travel, you have deficit budget and then you have a huge travel expense and you're like, hey, if we can't get raises, why are we traveling this much and stuff like that?
Okay. So do you all have a budget committee here of the board?
Yes.
You do? Who's on the budget committee?
Well, now that was,
The special committee.
it was a special
Yeah.
committee that we had. Well, yeah, it was 3 of us. Myself, Robert, and Jesse.
Okay. So you all looked at the budget, right?
But-
And even in budget committee, you're not
Well,
looking.
Yeah, that budget committee was like encompassed the
Community.
community. It was a community.
Okay.
I guess it's really a budget.
Yeah.
'Cause
Okay.
They don't have a
really-
budget committee.
No.
Budget committees can be good. They can be used for good, but the key words here is management specific line items like you talked about, right? Because when a budget comes to you, it doesn't have it every line item that a campus purchases, right? It doesn't have that. It has the overall code and how much you're spending on that code, right? Or function, it's called a function. Or it is telling you broad information. It doesn't go into those line items. But often when I go to board meetings, I will hear things like, well, why did that campus spend $500 more on art supplies than this campus? Now you're really getting into those weeds because those are campus decisions, right? The campus makes that decisions. They have a campus leadership team that looks at their campus budget and they prioritize things there on the campus level, right? So we as board members don't get into the campus spending, oh, you spend too much on paper, so making sure that we understand is because it's specific line items. That's why it's management. But you do review the annual budget. That is true. But when you get that budget, it does not go into that detail, right? But definitely some questions you can ask. How much do we spend on travel? Maybe that's something that we can create policy and pause it if we need to, because we don't have money.
How would you feel you as a superintendent, and I'm asking for the
Mhm.
budget of each campus? Like I want specifics.
I've heard that before. It's like, I want every campus budget. And it's like, okay, well, here's the general function codes with a campus budget. But it doesn't go into the specifics of paper and tape and this. It has about function items. So you can see that. And I do hear board members that will say, I want to see the campus budget. Okay, well,
Right.
here's the functions. Here's how much they're spending. What are you gonna do with that?
So how do you if you get a question, right? Because this is kind of something that's come up and you have, whether it's admin or teachers or, hey, is our campus getting the money that we're supposed to be getting? And is this other campus getting more help than what we're getting? So it's like, I don't, and I know that that's not my area, that's not where like you say, it's the weeds, but is that something that is not being communicate, you know what I mean? Like, where does that fall? Is that something that, like you say, there's committees within those different?
And that's a good
campuses?
question because sometimes people don't understand how the funding works for campuses. They might have special programs on their campus, and that's why that campus is getting some more money because they have a special education program specific at that campus.
Yeah.
That might be a bilingual campus, so they might get some funds from there. They might be a Title I campus, so they get funds from that. So it depends on their campus, and their principal should be providing this information through the campus leadership team
But is that
they
something
have.
that parents can come and say, look, we want to be a part of, we want to know what our campus is receiving.
Yes. So parents you have a parent representative on your campus leadership team that should be conveying information. It could be shared out at a parent night. It can be shared out at PTA meetings.
So typically then each campus should receive a budget.
Yes, they do receive a budget.
And
yes,
then
absolutely.
like you say, because I think I've been in that.
The campus leadership team.
Committee?
Yeah.
But I don't think we ever got, and so it was kind of like, and then it just never,
Mhm. And just making sure, and that's something that you can then tell your superintendent, can you ensure that campus leadership team is reviewing the budget? Because that's what campus
So I think
leadership
it's a
team
lot
is
of
for.
that goes on, that they think that one campus gets this and we don't get that. And it's.
And it's not going to be the same. It is not the
Yeah,
same.
it's not going to be.
And because of the
that's
programs that they
understandable.
have. So maybe having a high level overview, of that, right, by your superintendent and some, in different ways, because you don't want to add it to the agenda. Maybe there is a time and place when your agenda is a little bit lighter to have an informational piece like that on that. You can have a town hall meeting on finance, budget finance, right? And how that works and explaining campuses are different. It depends on what programs are housed there.
I
High
think
school is
that's-
different.
That's the
Yeah,
issue.
but even
that-
within,
How many
but even
kids?
Yes.
within the
whether
campus.
it's different,
each-
but with the-
Yes, they're high.
Yeah.
See, high
Yes. So many
all those
variables.
different, codings that those kids get.
Yeah.
And that's what we worked on with the whole, what is it? when they registered.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we
Make
can
sure
set
that they're
it
coding
there.
correctly through Teams.
But see, I think
Yeah.
that the public is not, and not just the public, I think even the teachers and the administrators
Sure.
are not understanding.
Yes.
And so I think that is where, again, like you say, we have to build that trust. And so if we don't lay everything out, like all our cards on the table and say, look, this is what you're getting, this is what, you know what I mean? Like, I
Yes.
feel like if we could educate
Mhm.
and be more like transparent, then people are like, okay, well, this is what we have. How can we ask them for more?
Yes.
You know, and it goes again to like, this is off topic, but supplies. This is like a big thing that like, they're not to ask parents for supplies.
Mhm.
And I don't know why, like paper, pencils, like those type of things. And I don't know if it's kind of like,
Yeah, and that happens in other districts, right? And we say it too, like, don't go ask parents to buy you paper, we will try to get that for you, or that's why you have PTA to also be able to
That's what I
provide
was
you with
thinking.
some supplemental resources.
okay,
And so districts do put, your campuses on the website, and usually they'll have their campus leadership team listed and their budget is on there as well, where people can see that, right?
yeah.
But finance is complicated.
Because I hate to I hear that a lot. Well, I'm, the teacher, I had to go buy this for the class. I had to put, it's my own, and they're already.
Oh, I
getting,
spent thousands in my classroom.
You know what I mean? So
Yes.
and that's what I was trying to get at is like, is it something that we could do PTO or like, is there a way to like alleviate this? Was that
They
way?
need to ask their principal for
Yeah.
what they need. Student supplies, teachers can absolutely ask
Okay.
for.
Yes.
What we don't want them to do is we don't want them to start these Amazon wish lists
Okay.
that are all teacher related materials.
It's like,
Because they get $150 gift certificate at the beginning, like this
Right.
beginning of this year, they got that. If they don't feel like they have enough paper, then they need to talk to their principal, and their principal needs to find out more, because there's paper.
Yeah.
There's plenty of paper, but if they're printing everything in 2 languages, whenever they're only supposed to be printing it in 1,
yeah.
like you have to monitor, like there has to be an efficient use of our resources.
Double sided.
I think before,
Double siding.
that's even a paper, because back then, so they would put in a code in the copier. That's
Yeah.
what I was told, and
That-
they were allotted so many, and now it's like free for all, like, you just like go. And so I don't know where that, accountability stopped, because that would be a measurement of like, okay, you've gotten 2,000 pages, like and then they are aware that like, okay, I need to make better judgment calls on what I'm gonna photocopy because I only have so many, but then.
And that'll go back to your campus. It'll be a
Yeah,
campus
something
level
else
thing
campus.
That's all
where your principal can monitor that budget for the campus
Uh-huh.
and say, oh, well, we're going to take it to CLT, our campus leadership team, to make a budget amendment, move some money around to put more in paper, because now it's a free for all where you used all the paper up and it's only January, right? So that's where the accountability is, through the campus level, your campus leadership team. Y'all have campus leadership teams, right? So
Ma'am.
that's where the accountability piece is. And then you have district leadership team. So that's a really good question. And it would be the principal. But if you want to have something district wide, like we need a 101 on finance, or, explaining to people, what that programming is going to drive what the campus gets, depending on the programs, depending on the enrollment, all of that. Then having that information, putting it in a newsletter, is anybody going to really show up? So you got to leverage all of that, and prioritize what's the most important thing to get out first, and put it in your goals as well. If you think that's important enough to put as a focus area for your goals, and that's what you talk about for next year. It's like, let's focus on that, because that's
I think
important.
they, like, need to feel like they're supported. I
Yes.
think that also goes against like, are we cultivating this, like, we're here for you culture? Like
Mhm.
we've got you. And I think that's what I mean, at least for me, like I want to see that, because I don't want to have teachers come to me and be like, we don't have, and we're having to spend.
Yes.
And, because I'm on PTO, I feel like, okay, I need to like do something, like, what can I do? I need to help, so.
And
That-
I,
to
and I
get
think
back to
understanding the
principal,
finance. What were you going
who
to say?
needs to come to me.
That's,
Yeah,
and that's when it's really hard not to get into the weeds, because
that's,
I have gotten that feedback too, and it directly impacts the morale, which obviously, it impacts the student, but you do hear that like, I don't know what my budget is. I haven't been told, and we're already in whatever month. I have no idea how much, I can spend, not spend. And so obviously, the only one I can talk to is Ms. Colas.
Yes.
And, but it's sitting I'm not gonna go to the principal or anybody like that, but.
Yeah.
No, it's me.
But go to Ms. Colas, but I think we do need to, you know,
So it can trickle down from her to tell her principals, hey, make sure that you're educating your staff. When you have a staff meeting, go over your budget,
manage.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, but you all have told her and shared your concern that you're hearing it from a lot of places. So then she can share that with her principals and say, hey, at one of your staff meetings, go over the budget with them. Let them know how much you all have and let them know why you all have all this X amount of money because you're a Title I school, you're this, you're that. So that's a good place to trickle it down, but you've told her and then she trickles it down.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a really good point. I like that. And it's all about solutions, right? Okay. Scenario 3, who's going to read that for us?
The board reviews and approves the overall budget, ensuring it aligns with the strategic goals and fiduciary responsibilities.
Okay, what is that? I see some green. I see all green. Yay, governance. You got a gold star for that. Because we're looking at the overall budget, right? Making sure it aligns with your goals. So there's an alignment there. So definitely governance. Easy peasy, right? Aligns and overall. Okay, now it's going to start to get a little tricky. So be ready. Who's going to read that?
Some board members feel that certain staff members are not performing well and want to intervene directly to address performance issues.
Okay, I have management. I want governance. Tell me why governance, Laura.
Well, I just see board members and I feel like, I mean, who's in charge of us?
You all are in charge of it.
Right.
Yes. So you feel that certain staff members are not performing well and you want to intervene directly to address their performance issues. This is staff.
I think she thought.
Oh,
not
okay, I was
us.
thinking board
Yeah.
members, sorry.
Uh,
I was thinking address.
Board member
members.
behavior. Oh, okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, that's.
Okay. Yes. So what do you think it is? You all said management because certain staff
And then directly.
and directly. Very good. You caught that
read that.
directly. That's okay. Hey, it's getting late. It's getting late. That's fine. Our brains start to get a little foggy here. Okay. Number 5.
The district has a healthy fund balance and some trustees want to use it for a new project while others want to preserve it.
Remember I said it's going to get tricky. Oh, I have governance. Okay. Let's find out. It is governance and management. Ah, you knew JJ? Ooh, look at JJ knew. Okay, tell me why, JJ. Why is it vote? Oh, trickster. Okay. Why do you think it's governance?
Because you're gonna vote on, either way, at the end of the day, you're gonna vote. And some trustees feel like, hey, I want to put this into
Okay,
project, or some wanna.
so you're gonna vote. Very good. So you're gonna take action on it. Why is it management?
Because management is gonna tell you what projects that we can.
There you
afford.
go. Management is going to bring those projects to you for a recommendation. They'll bring you a recommendation. Now, if you have a budget committee, that budget committee that it might have board members on there might be part of that recommendation, right? But governance and management, you are going to take action, but management is going to come up with that recommendation. They're going to say, based on our facilities, based on our committee, they said they recommend, since we have a healthy fund balance, that we should purchase 50 million computers, for example, right? Because you can use bond money, whatever. But that's a side note. So governance and management. I love it. You see how you have to work together? So it's not always just going to be black or white. There's going to be gray. There's going to be some overlap. And it's okay for there to be overlap. But sometimes you got to make sure that, I always have to say this, even though it's legal, doesn't always make it right choice for your team to do it. Okay. So yes, you have a say in this, but that doesn't mean I'm going to bring my pet projects now. And I really think in my elementary that my kid goes to, we need to do X, Y, Z. So making sure to stay away from that. Okay. Scenario 6. We have 8 scenarios, just so you know.
A neighbor calls a trustee upset about the principal at their child's school. They want the board to vote to remove the principal.
This never happens, right? Never. Okay, so we have some management. Let's see. Management. Because it is the principal specific. Who is your employee? Superintendent, and they want you to remove them. I mean, first of all, there's a whole process to terminating somebody, right? So it's not a easy as taking a vote. You cannot just take a vote and get rid of somebody. So there is a part for governance, but management has to do their due diligence on this, and they are the ones in charge of that, your superintendent. Okay, scenario 7.
Board members received several community complaints about poor morale and leadership at one school.
Okay, so this is October, right? So usually morale's bad during October. We're everywhere across the state. So you will hear all about morale. This is a very common thing. As a teacher, October was like, oh, we're so tired. And morale is really bad then, and usually in the spring after spring break. So you'll have poor morale. But you receive those community complaints about poor morale. I have spent a lot of money. I don't like my principal. They need to be removed. So whose job is this? Okay, sounds easy. Management, right? Management is in charge of this. However, it's also governance. And where do you fit in? You fit in by saying, okay, there seems to be an issue. We're getting a lot of complaints from the community. Maybe something for us to consider as a board is for us to have a climate survey. So we're going to have to vote on spending money. You have to go out RFP, right, for a vendor to do surveys, because we want to gauge the climate of our campuses. So that's where you fit in if you were to do that, right? If you don't have money, of course, you're not going to do this. I'm just saying as an example, this is something that you can work in tandem with your superintendent to see, does it really warrant a climate survey? Because I had 2 complaints. Understanding, what is your enrollment here?
4,000, just under 4,000.
So you have about, let's say 4,000 times usually 2 parents. So that's 8,000, and you have 2 complaints. Does that warrant a climate survey? Probably not. But if there's a whole section of stakeholders that's complaining, then it might warrant a climate survey, right? So that's where you work together. Okay, scenario 8.
Mid-year financial reports show a potential shortfall due to unexpected state funding changes.
What? Okay, I see some governance. Ooh, look, I see both. Okay, so they're on to me, right? So we have governance, because you are going to have to do something and adopt, make budget amendment, what have you. And it's also management, because your superintendent, being the expert, is going to have to get with their team and see what can we do to kind of put a Band-Aid on this bleeding for now. So they're going to come with recommendations to you. Okay, we're going to have a shortfall. We need to change some things. So mid-year, we're going to have to not fill those spots. let them go through attrition because we had a lot of people retire in December, so we can't fill those spots because we don't have money. That's a recommendation. And then you all take a vote on the budget, right? You might have to adopt some budget amendments, what have you, moves, because you might move some money from one area to another. So again, working in tandem together, right? You're all in this together. And that's the key word. Oh, I wanted to share this with, because this comes up, right? So when somebody requests assistance from the community, they call you. You think to yourself, can a board member provide assistance? So somebody calls me to ask me, what is a student holiday coming up? I can't find the calendar on the website. When are we off from school?
Your principal.
No, this, okay, now you're being silly with me. So what are you going to tell me? What day are we off from school? Can you answer my question? Now he's all scared of that. Yes, you can answer that question, right? Oh, I'm going too fast. Okay, can board member provide assistance to that kind of question?
Yes.
Yes,
Whether
absolutely.
Fridays are
It's
staff
yes.
development day. You
Is
could-
it a staff development? Oh, when is the football game? Oh, how much was the budget that you passed? Those are informational items. You definitely can share that information. But I'm having an issue with this teacher and I want you to get her fired. Then can you provide assistance? No. What are you referring them to? The chain of command. Have you even talked to the teacher? Well, no, I just don't like her. And, and I want to get rid of her. Well, go to your teacher. Have you talked to the teacher? Yes, I have talked to the teacher. She was so rude to me. She didn't call me back. So who do you go to next? Principal. So you refer them to the chain of command, right? So you cannot assist them because you cannot solve that problem. And that's sometimes hard for us. Why did we run to be a board member? Because we wanted to make things better, right? We knew things could be better. We wanted to save everything.
And if it goes to a grievance, then you get to.
Absolutely. And it's important to understand that, right? But we want to save everything, but we're not the saviors. We need to empower our community to navigate the system. So we need to teach them the chain of command, because if they just call me, Esperanza, can you fix this? Okay, I'll fix it. Superintendent, I need you to blah, blah, blah. And then ring, ring. Esperanza, my friend said that you fixed her problem. Can you fix this? Okay, superintendent. Is it gonna stop? No. Are you teaching them how to navigate the system? No. What about when you're not a board member? Who's gonna help them then? So you gotta teach them how to navigate the system and tell them the chain of command. Or if they're looking for the grievance policy, you can refer them to the website. It's right here. So refer to the chain of command. Okay. Can you provide assistance? That's informational. Yes. Provide information, right? It's okay to tell them when you're off from school. It's okay if you're talking about a decision you made on an agenda item and say, yes, we adopted a 3% compensation, or no, we voted not to, or whatever the case may be. Now, does the request indicate a systems problem? You're hearing from more than one person and it's a yes. Well, I don't know why I went like that on that screen. It's a yes. So you notify the superintendent. Let the superintendent know. I've already heard from several people about this systems issue, maybe the policy on grading. So I just want to share it with you. Here's the information. I'm forwarding that email. I'm giving her the information and now she'll handle it from there. Now, if I'm providing information on the calendar or anything else, is it a systems problem? No, it's just simple information. So I'm not going to go tell it, well, so-and-so asked me when the football game is. You're not going to inundate your superintendent with those kind of things. It is systems issues that you're going to let your superintendent know and not be blindsided by, oh, I have 20 people coming and they're coming to speak at public forum. Yeah, give a heads up to your superintendent, right? about what that's about, to be prepared. Any questions on this? Does that make sense? About, yes, there's informational items. No, sometimes it is. You cannot help them because you have to refer to chain of command. Oh, stop. Yes. If it is not a systems problem and you're not telling your superintendent, just stop there. No big deal. Okay, we have come to the end of our time together. So what questions do you have? We still have 15 minutes, so feel free to ask any questions, or if you need to process some of this, you can ask them questions.
Then, I mean, can we put it like on the district website, like, for example, you know, a lot of people don't know about the tax rate or the annual financial report that's online. And, you know, like, we know what we spend the money on, and it's online, but some of the public doesn't know.
Yes, so the tax rate needs to be published,
So-
so.
Well, I
it'll
mean, it's
be-
published, but like say on the website.
Yes,
that
you can definitely put it on your website. It's public knowledge, so yeah.
You can go to this
Yes.
website, and then it'll tell you what the district spend the money on.
Yes.
And then, of course, the tax
Your
rate.
budget should be there, your tax rate can be there, all that information. That is definitely,
Yeah, or the other one is a superintendent's contract, you know. It's there.
contract is
Because a lot
legally
of people
supposed to be on the
they-
website.
Lately in the social media, they've been you know,
Talking
kinda
about
like
it.
Talking about it, they had, you know, that we, you know, giving her
Clothing
clothing allowance.
Yeah,
And then, I mean, and some of them are educators that just go to the website and look at her contract. It tells you everything that,
it's like, here's a link to the contract.
yes. But
Put a banner on the website.
Yeah.
Not clothing allowance.
I would
right?
love a
Yeah.
clothing allowance.
Is
God, I
that-
wish
that's
I
not
did
true.
that.
It's not.
I think, what are you talking about? Like, they're like, well, we want clothing allowance too, and I'm like,
And we pay for her car.
I want, well, sometimes
Which they
cars
don't.
are
Which
in
we
the
don't.
contract. It depends on
Sometimes
what
it
your
is the
contract.
contract. It's not in mine.
no, I didn't get that.
I want a clothing allowance. I want that to happen.
Think you wanted pink index
pink,
cards.
It is my favorite.
Good color.
But definitely that can be on there. Those are good things to have. Okay, for our closing reflection, as we come to the end, I want you to do this. I want you to fold it in three.
Oh,
Fold in three.
no.
And I need you to write your
Oh.
district on it, right where you want it. There.
That's gonna be so
It's
painful.
a challenge.
I know, I'm like, it's gonna be painful. 'Cause I
Where
don't
do we
have it.
write our district? In the front?
Anywhere. Doesn't matter. Oops, what happened to my PowerPoint?
They got tired.
I'm still
Went
talking.
to sleep. Sleep.
You got it, David?
Can you bring the PowerPoint back up?
Not exact. Oh, try.
It's like, I have 15 more minutes with you. To the last slide. There you go. Perfect. Okay, so you have three parts. You're gonna write on one superintendent on one column. Second column, you're gonna write president, and you can write in the back if you need more space. And then the third column is going to be myself. Superintendent, president, and myself. So you're going to put a check mark and write one thing that they are doing great under that column for superintendent. And you're gonna put a plus for one thing they can improve. So one thing they're doing great, put a little check so I know that's what they're doing great. Put a plus to show me that's something that they can work on. Okay, you're gonna do that for the superintendent, you're gonna do that for the president, and you're gonna do that for yourself. And then I'm gonna collect all this. You don't have to put your name, and I'm gonna share it, and your superintendent will send it out. Because it's always important to reflect. Now, I won't make you share out loud if you don't want to. So that's why I collect them and put it together in case. But if you would like to share it out, even if it's the one thing that you're doing great, yeah, let's do that after you finish. We're going to share out one thing that you yourself are doing great. So put a check mark and tell me one thing that's great, one thing they're doing great, and then a plus for the one thing that can be improved on. And use the back if you need to write more. When you're done, you can put your. And if you want to keep your little paddle, you can keep your paddle. If not, you can put it here at the end of the desk when you leave. Okay, we'll do one more minute.
You want your panel?
Where's it now?
Hold it up and show them at your board meeting.
We're keeping our paddle for the meetings.
I love it.
Ding, ding, ding.
Is everybody ready? Okay, 30 more seconds. And then you are going to share one thing that you are doing great. If you don't want to talk about yourself, you can pick somebody else if you want. But I really want to hear what you think. Okay, we're ready? Everybody's ready? You ready, Erica?
I'll go.
Okay.
The one thing I think I'm doing great on, or I'm trying to do great on, is just learning because I'm new. So I think I've had 3 months maybe on the board. So I'm trying to learn, like you say, like be aware of like people's feelings and like how they, their emotions and what things trigger certain things, and just trying to kind of like mend people, like maybe
Mhm.
like see, like try to show both sides of things and trying to like bring more, ideas to the table and like different perspectives. So I don't know, that's what I'm trying to do.
Love it. Good job.
The one thing that I feel I'm doing great on is staying focused on the overall goals. It's even as hard as it is with living in a closed knit community. But like you mentioned earlier, we're trustees and we're entrusted to look at the overall picture. And so I think that's what I.
Very good.
For me, I put, and that's not being ugly or anything, but, and I'll explain why I put that I continue to show up. I mean, I've been on this board through COVID, through a tragedy, as an employee at the hospital during a tragedy. And it would be so easy for me to just hang up and go, and not that I haven't considered it and I haven't talked to my family about it, but I keep saying, I have a commitment. And so I will continue to show up no matter how, because it's been pretty bad. I will continue to show up.
That.
For me, it's, I love obviously the staff, the people that work here, and just telling them that, just being positive with them, trying to end it in a good note, and things may be turbulent at times, but at the end of the day, they show up to work and respect that. So
Thank you.
Continue to serve even though we don't we get mandated things from the state and federal, but they're unfunded. I mean, and we try to do our best to do what the crumbs of, not the pie, a piece of the pie, but the crumbs that we get from the state and federal, and still, run the school and, and try to do the best for the staff and the students.
Yes.
Being calm.
Nice. I love
It
that.
just helps a lot.
It does. It helps having somebody that might be a little bit calmer, right? And that helps a lot.
Establishing systems in a district that's still deep in recovery.
Mhm. Okay, so you all are doing some pretty great things in spite of outside variables, right? And you just have to remember there's going to be some challenges that you all face, as you all have faced them already. You can do hard things, as you put in your survey. And it's just making sure that you lean into each other, right? And work together. Because you're always going to be stronger together instead of having division. So making sure you keep that in mind as you move forward. I'm going to recap all of this information that we gathered today, and I'll send it to your superintendent to share out with you all. And then the next time that I come, we'll work on your social contract as well. And then I will contact the board officers about Board Officer Institute and going through that. And we'll look at your schedules and we'll fix all of that. But I think it's a great opportunity for you all to learn and get better and really do some fabulous things here in your district. So thank you so much for your time. Have a good night.
Thank you for being here. I wish that, I thought we were all going to be here. I think this is great, everything that you've brought to us, the things that we've discussed, and I really appreciate you coming out. I know Erica said really great things about you, and, with her first time going to TASB, so that was big. And I just thank you for being here with us. It really helps a lot.
I love it. And I'll come back every month if you let me. Thank
Thank you,
you.
and, if you could, share some of this, your, things that you do with the district.
Oh, yeah.
We want to improve, attendance.
Attendance.
And if you could share your
Do you want me to write it up and share it with you?
Yes.
Oh, we would
Okay.
love that.
Yes.
Yeah.
We had moved from being at 87% to now we're at 94%.
Wow. And we'll tell them how big is your district.
We have 25,100 students. So
Yeah.
we are growing. We're fast growth. But we went also from toxic board to honor board to being a high achieving district with an amazing superintendent. But you got to trust the process. Got to trust. Trust will get you there. So I'm very hopeful for you all, and I will be back. So
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, item number 4, adjournment. At this time, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Motion made by trustee Flores, second by trustee Munoz. Aye.
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 Motion carries. The time now is 8:58. We are adjourned.